The last post played by the bugler, and all around the Etihad Stadium, images of poppies on the electronic advertising hoardings and on the jumbotron screens around us as we prepare for Remembrance Sunday. So the poppy emblem in the centre circle is being taken up by the staff wearing the military combats. Podium is taken away and we are getting ready for the off. Manchester City and Bournemouth both in their first choice colours. You would expect that of Manchester City at home in their sky blue shirts and socks with white shorts. Bournemouth in their red and black striped shirts with black shorts and socks. And Bournemouth will be kicking towards the family stand to our left. We're sat in the Colin Bell stand, Perry and myself, here at the Etihad. We're about 15-30 rows back maybe from the dugouts, and Manchester City get us underway on Talksport 2, looking to go top of the Premier League for a few hours at least, pending Arsenal's result later in the tea time game at Newcastle. Bournemouth can't go any higher than the 17th place that they're currently in with their 6 points, but they can try this afternoon, Perry, if they can, hook or by crook, to try and earn a point here to open up a bit of a gap between them and the bottom three below them. Yeah, just say first 10-15 minutes, Bournemouth, they're nice and tight. We're just looking at the set-up dance. They've gone the five at the back, which we thought they would do with Mepham, Zabiani and Kelly as the three centre-halves. Dominic Solanke will be sort of up front on his own, with Tavernier to his left and Ryan Christie to his right. So basically it'll be like a 5-4-1 for Bournemouth. It does look like a traditional back four for Manchester City, that much is clear. Bournemouth win the ball midway point of their own half. Philip Billing though hits it against Rodri, but he's bailed out by Lloyd Kelly, who managed to get it up to Solanke on halfway, cushioned a header down for Christie. Solanke giving chase downfield, but Kyle Walker is there to tidy up for Manchester City, and Bernardo Silva, such a confident pass out to Nathan Ake at left back. Former Bournemouth player, of course, Nathan Ake, made over 120 appearances for the Cherries before moving to Manchester City. And the ball sent out to the City right. And Kyle Walker finds Bernardo Silva, midway point of the Bournemouth half. Tries to play it along the deck into the edge of the area to find Haaland. But again, Lloyd Kelly's there for the Cherries. Gets it clear, but it's been nodded down by Akanji, helped out by Walker. I'll keep you in touch with all the goals going in this afternoon. Barrow have just taken a 3-1 lead in the FA Cup at Northampton Town. So League 2 in front against League 1 there. And Ben Whitfield with the goal. There are 30 3 p.m. FA Cup ties I'll keep you in touch with, as well as the Premier League and Championship action. Haaland trying to turn Zabani at the edge of the area, but he got the ball clear. And I can give you some breaking news from the WSL. Chelsea's women have just beaten Aston Villa by 6-0, but Chelsea FC can today confirm that Emma Hayes OBE will depart the club at the end of the season to pursue a new opportunity, it says, outside of the WSL and club football. That's the breaking news. So Emma Hayes to leave Chelsea's women's team at the end of this season. Underway with a free kick here for Manchester City down the right hand side of the Bournemouth box. Bernardo Silva tries to cross it in, but it's blocked out of play for a throw by Kelly. Nearly 3 minutes gone on Talksport 2, it's 0-0. Yeah, just like Man City dance. Obviously we knew they'd have a lot of possession. When the ball came to Akanji on the halfway line, he just pinged it into Erling Haaland about 40 yards along the deck, and there's too many gaps just there in the Bournemouth midfield. You can't let it go into Erling Haaland's feet. And the second time it come into him, Zabiani made sure that he followed him all the way in, ended up bringing him down. And just looking with Man City, obviously Doku will provide the width over on the left-hand side. Kyle Walker basically is playing as a right winger on this right-hand side, and Bernardo Silva's going inverted in that midfield. Akanji looks for Bernardo Silva, right-hand corner of the penalty area. Walker showing outside of him, receives it now down by the corner flag, but he rolls the ball back 20 yards or so to Akanji. Infield it goes to the influential Rodri. Finds Kovacic with a little threaded pass 4 or 5 yards. Swindon 0, Aldershot 1 in the FA Cup. Jack Byram for the National League side going ahead at Swindon Town, and Reading lead MK Dons in the same competition by a goal to nil. Kevin Abichinam with a goal for the Royals. Now down the left-hand side of the box, Julian Alvarez for Manchester City to the dead ball line. Just turns away for a moment from Mepham. Gives it back to Jeremy Doku. Doku up against Aaron, strives for the byline, whips it in. Haaland just goes over his head, comes out to the edge of the box, and Bournemouth will volley clear, but only as far as Nathan Ake. Ake 30 yards out, thought about driving forward for a shot. Instead leaves it for Alvarez. He does go for goal, but gets it wildly wrong, and it goes over the bar for a Bournemouth goal kick. 4 gone, 0-0.
Dad, I think Max Aaron's in the right back position for Bournemouth. You can see a lot of Jeremy Doku 1v1. Exactly what happened there, where he's just gone on the outside of Max Aaron's, got himself to the byline, which just dinked it to far post. Lloyd Kelly did brilliantly, Dan. He just made sure that Erling Haaland couldn't get the header. He knew he wasn't going to win it himself, but there's going to be a feature of Man City's play where they try and isolate Doku 1v1 against Aaron's on that left-hand side.
Alvarez driving forward for Manchester City, inside right channel. On the overlap is Bernardo Silva, pulls it across the face of goal, but an important touch from Alex Scott. It's only half cleared by Bournemouth, but then they win it back with Ryan Christie, who finds Solanke 20 yards from the halfway line, and he calmly plays it out to this near side for Marcus Tavernier, and he fires it back to Kerkez. Stevenage lead Tranmere in the FA Cup. Jordan Roberts for Stevenage. Tranmere just given Nigel Atkins the Tranmere position on a permanent basis. Yeovil 1, Gateshead 0 in the FA Cup. The National League South side ahead at Hewish Park through Rhys Murphy, and Marine 0, Harrogate 1. Northern Premier League side behind to Abraham Odo.
Do you want me to give you a first inane stat?
Oh, I love an inane stat. What is it today?
Yeovil's 53rd first round tie, the most ever by a non-league team. Thought I'd just get it in early. It's like your first pass, first header.
Wow, great work. 51st, third
53rd.
round. 53rd, third round tie.
First round tie.
First round tie. Wow. Impressive. 0-0 on Talksport 2. Manchester City in possession. I think I'll be saying that quite a lot during the course of this game this afternoon. 6 minutes gone. As part of game day earlier today, Manchester United, the other side of this great city, got themselves a very, very important win. A late winner from Bruno Fernandes, their captain, at Fulham. You heard it live on Talksport. It finished Fulham 0, Manchester United 1. Aldershot have a second at Swindon, you know, in the FA Cup, and it's Jack Barham again for the National League side at League 2 Swindon in the FA Cup first round. Ake, midway point of his own half, 0-0.
You've just said about Bournemouth setting up, and obviously we mentioned about how influential Rodri is. It just looks like that Ryan Christie has been delegated, that when Man City are in possession, he keeps looking over his shoulder to see where Rodri is, to make sure that he goes and engages him first.
Ake just brings the ball over halfway for Manchester City, out to the left-hand side, the far side of the field, the east stand side opposite us, and Doku. It's played back into the centre circle for Stones. Akanji receives it now towards this near side. Walker being forced back to the halfway by Kerkez. And Walker, in the end, has to go all the way back to his goalkeeper. That's good, tenacious work from Kerkez for Bournemouth. But it comes back for Nathan Ake. And he can stride into the Bournemouth half down the inside left channel. Doku receives it now out on the far touchline. He's looking to get the better of Alex Scott. Still has it, Doku, as he drifts infield. Just lays it off for Rodri. Now Kovacic takes over. Gives it back to Rodri. Steps away from Christie. Peterborough 0, Salford 1 in the FA Cup. Stephen Mallam for Salford, and Crawley lead at Notts County in the same competition. Danny Orsi putting Crawley ahead at Meadow Lane. It is a 3 at the back for Manchester City, isn't it, Perry Groves? It's not a 4 as we presumed it might be.
Yeah, well, I think obviously you said about Kyle Walker, you know, playing in this sort of wing-back position on this right-hand side. Basically as a right winger at the moment. It's been a bit like a training game dance, where it's obviously Man City just completely dominating possession, where Bournemouth being very well structured at the moment. You know, Man City just trying to move them about. Kovacic is just trying to get himself up alongside Erling Haaland, and then Alvarez will drop a little bit deeper, and then obviously Doku providing Man City's width over on that left-hand side. But at the moment, Bournemouth, their organisation is pretty good.
8.5 minutes gone. Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 0. Ake again, left wing for the home side. drifts towards the edge of the area, plays it further out left to Doku. Down the left-hand side of the box goes Kovacic to receive a pass from Doku. Gives it back to the Belgian, who's up against Max Aarons. Can he get the cross in on that left-hand side? Doku, couple of twists and turns, gives it to Ake, left-hand corner of the box, lifts it to the far post, and Kerkez didn't get a call. Elected to head it clear anyway, only as far as Kyle Walker on the right wing, and he hits it against Kerkez and wins Manchester City's first corner of the game as Everton take the lead against Brighton in the Premier League. Vitaly Mikalenko up from the back to put the Toffees ahead, but it's 0-0 here, Perry Groves.
Yeah, as you said there was lack of communication between Radu and Kerkez on that far post, because if Radu, the Bournemouth goalkeeper, gives him a shout, Kerkez can either let it roll across him or chest it down and then volley the ball away. But it was a bit of a panicked header, which gave Man City their first corner on this right-hand side,
which Alvarez is preparing to take. Kovacic is there for a short corner. Alvarez raises both arms in the air. It's going to be a right-footed outswinger from the World Cup winner. Plenty of Manchester City players at the far post. Craig Pawson, the referee, just checking for a bit of pushing and shoving as Alvarez plays it back to the edge of the area, and Bernardo Silva on his left foot and whizzes a left-footed effort over the crossbar. I think Radu had it covered, but first effort in anger from Manchester City goes over from Bernardo Silva. 10 gone, 0-0.
Yeah, just trying to vary it up. Man City said their first corner, everybody thinks it's going to be hit to the far post when Lloyd Kelly's picking up. Erling Haaland just comes to the edge of the 18-yard box for Bernardo Silva. Normally a player of his quality, Dance, worst ways out, you'd be thinking it would be in the target, but he said just did it high, wide and handsome, didn't really trouble Radu, and then Bournemouth have got themselves in possession.
Well, Solanke had the ball just over halfway, and Milos Kerkez made a strong run down this left-hand side, but wasn't spotted. He had space to run into in that area that Perry Groves has been talking about, that's kind of vacated, if you will, by the lack of a orthodox right-back. Now Ryan Christie brings the ball forward for Bournemouth, slips it down the right-hand side of the box for Solanke, who's onside. Lays it back to the right-hand side for Max Aarons. There's three in the box, waiting for a cross for Bournemouth. Alex Scott picks it up now, 30 yards out. Not back for Chris Mepham. Mepham gives it back infield to Tavernier, and Tavernier goes back to halfway, and Manchester City have now got everybody behind the ball. Ball down the left-hand side, looking for Kerkez, who thought about making a run, stopped his run because he thought Walker was going to get there, and Walker was just dummying him as well. Went behind for a Manchester City goal kick. Get this, Swindon 0, Aldershot 3 in the FA Cup. Josh Stokes with the third for the shots. Bristol Rovers lead non-league Whitby Town by a goal to 0 at the Mem. And Shrewsbury 0, Colchester 1 in the Cup. Cameron McGeehan for Colchester with Matty Etherington still in interim charge there.
Yes, he's just been put back in charge. He was relieved of his duties, wasn't he, last week? There was a contractual issue, wasn't there, with Crawley Town, but Matty Etherington's now back in as a caretaker manager. And
what were we saying before the game about the other games? Neil Maupay needs a goal. He's got one for Brentford against West Ham United. It's his first goal in how many Premier League games was it?
31.
Amazing. So
his hose ban is over.
It is. Brentford 1, West Ham 0. 0-0 here on Talksport 2 with 12 minutes gone. Ball's with Kovacic in the centre circle for Manchester City. Lays it off to Rodri, who travels over the halfway line with the ball at his feet. Options left and right, clips the ball right to Bernardo Silva, who sends Kyle Walker clear down the right-hand side. Early cross into the area, put behind by Kelly for a second corner of the game to the home side, 0-0.
Good defending by Lloyd Kelly at his near post. We play in the three centre halves. You've got to make sure sometimes you just mark the space, exactly what he did. Kyle Walker again getting himself down that right-hand side. Kerkez not getting close enough. Another corner from Man City on this right-hand side, taken by Alvarez,
who again is racing both arms in the air to indicate to his teammates presumably what he's planning to do. Goes into the near post, headed out by Kelly, who's seeing a lot of action in these early stages in a defensive role for Bournemouth. Pulls back on halfway, and Manchester City have it back. Bernardo Silva back out to this near side, the right, and Alvarez, who swings across into the edge of the area. It's quite well dealt with by Bournemouth at the back, and they get the ball clear and out of play for a throw. So they've negotiated almost a quarter of an hour, Perry, at this point. Yeah. And it's 0-0 still.
Yeah, that's just the problem when Bournemouth, obviously defending their corner, they bring all the outfield players back, and then when they clear it, it came to Max Aarons on the right-hand side. He had no one to clear it to, so basically just give the possession straight away back to Man City.
Bernardo Silva back for Alvarez to the edge of the area. Rodri goes for goal, but it's straight at Radu. who held on to it quite comfortably. 0-0 here, 1-0 to Lincoln in the FA Cup against League Two Morecambe. And Maidstone United lead at Chesham in an all non-league FA Cup tie. That's Southern Premier League against National League South, and Maidstone are ahead. 0-0 the score here at the Etihad. Ball given away by Bournemouth at the back, but Lloyd Kelly again on the scene to fire it along the deck up to Solanke, who holds it up well on halfway. Christie lays it off to Scott at the edge of the centre circle, and it's driven out to the right-hand side for Max Aarons, who looks early for Solanke, but brilliant defending at the edge of his own box by John Stone. So calm from the England centre-half.
It was really good play from Lloyd Kelly. You said there, Dad, you know when...
Now Doku away down the left-hand side, who's taken Mepham with him to the dead ball line, goes inside the area, tries to roll Mepham, goes down, and Craig Pawson tells him to get up. No penalty, and we play on at 0-0.
Mepham did really well there against Doku, because that's the last thing a centre-half wants, stands 1v1 with Doku, who's got such happy feet. And as Doku tried to cut inside him, Mepham just stepped across to use his right shoulder really well. But you said there, Craig Pawson, referee, was Johnny on the spot and just said no to Doku, get up. But that was started because Kirkis gave the ball away. That's the last thing you can do, Dance, is be that loose in your passing, because then if Bournemouth give the ball away and are in possession, then they're out of shape. So you've got to make sure you're a lot tighter when you've got hold of the ball.
It's back with Radu playing his second Premier League game in a row, with Neto out injured for the moment, who would normally be the first choice in nets for Bournemouth. Solanke plays a neat 1-2 on halfway and tries to get away, but that's good sprinting back by Manuel Akanji to just get ahead and get himself between Solanke and the ball and guide the ball back to his keeper Edison. 0-0.
Yeah, he did well, Akanji, because at first he was too tight on Dominic Solanke. Great little layoff, wasn't it? Little Cruyff layoff into Tavernier, and he's just trying to release Solanke, and Akanji's natural pace got him out of trouble.
Everton 1, Brighton 1. Brighton equalise at Goodison Park through Lewis Dunk.
The 15th game on the trot that Brighton involved in where both teams have scored.
More, that's not an inane stat, that's a good stat from Perry Groves, I'll give you that. Oxford United lead Maidenhead in the FA Cup by a goal to 0. Billy Bodin at the Kazam Stadium. And Stockport 1-0 up on Worksop in the FA Cup. Kyle Wootton. Manchester City coming forward with Bernardo Silva out to the right wing, and Kyle Walker to the byline, looking for Haaland at the far post. He couldn't head it on goal, so he tried to head it back into the middle of the penalty area, but he couldn't find a teammate, and Christie brings it clear for Bournemouth, and Solanke will hold it up tight to that far touchline. He's fouled and wins a free kick for the Cherries just shy of the halfway line. 0-0 the score on Talksport 2.
Yes, Kyle Walker again, Dance on this right hand side, get himself to the byline. When you get to the byline, you've got to be just dinking it to far post. I actually thought Erling Haaland actually came in too quickly, Dance. He got himself underneath the ball, he said there, and then he couldn't redirect it.
Ball's out to the right hand side for Bournemouth. West Bromwich Albion lead Hull City in the Championship by a goal to 0. You heard them beat Coventry live on Talksport 2 on Monday night. Jed Wallace has scored for West Brom at the Hawthorns. Here's Bernardo Silva, who was in such scintillating form in the Manchester derby last weekend. Finds Kovacic trying to barrel his way through the halfway line. Does well, actually, and gets it out to Haaland, who's quite deep. Works it out to the left wing for Doku. Doku approaching the left-hand corner of the box. Haaland's there again. Just holds players off. Brings Rodri into the game, and now down the left-hand side of the box is Jeremy Doku once more. Back for Rodri, 30 yards out, making space for a shot, and it whistles wide, and it's a goal kick. You're listening to Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 0 on Talksport 2 with Now. Don't forget that with Now you can stream all the Sky Sports action like Newcastle versus Arsenal live today for $11.99 with no contract. Search Now Sports for all the details.
Yes, Rodri's second shot from outside the box, because Bournemouth, when they're out of possession, obviously drop a little bit deep, but they're trying to defend the 18-yard box. Rodri's had the first shot where it just p-rolled it through to Radu. The second one's gone high, wide and handsome, so you don't want to give a player of that quality a third opportunity. And I have to say, Dance, in possession, Bournemouth have looked to be quite adventurous, haven't they? It's gone into Solanke like 3 or 4 times where he's held it up really well. It's just the final pass,
which is vital. If you're going to have any chance when you're under the pump like you are at a club like Manchester City, your central striker has to hold the ball up when he gets possession. Now Doku into the area left-hand side for Manchester City, tries a drive and I think it was Alex Scott who was back there defending to block it away from danger. And Bournemouth again look for Solanke, chests the ball down midway point of his own half and clips a neat ball in field for Tavernier. Tavernier holding the ball up by the halfway line and feeds it out to the right hand side for Max Aarons, but he turns into trouble in the shape of Doku. But he does win a throw for Bournemouth as, hang on, am I seeing things? Birmingham City 1, Ipswich Town 0.
Right there.
Jay Stansfield. Wow.
He's been around the world, hasn't he, Stansfield?
No, that's not an inane stat. That's just a tee up for a bad gag.
You expected it.
I did. Brentford 1, West Ham 1. Mohamed Kudus equalises for West Ham in the Premier League at the GTEC Stadium. And Wickham lead up Bradford in the FA Cup. Killian Phillips for the League One side at League Two Bradford, who were set to unveil Danny Cowley as their new manager this week, but he withdrew his decision to join the League Two side, so they're still on the hunt for a manager. 0-0 on Talksport 2 as we approach the 20-minute mark at the Etihad. Don't forget Talksport Breakfast Mac on Monday morning from 6 a.m. Ali McCoist and Andy Townsend looking back on a huge weekend of all the sporting action and looking ahead to our Monday night game night live on Talksport. Spurs against Chelsea, and Glenn Hoddle will be amongst their guests, a man who's got a foot in both camps. Manchester City in possession at 0-0. Rodri finds Bernardo Silva in the centre of the Bournemouth half, looks to set Alvarez away, and then Alvarez forced Zabani to turn the ball behind for another Manchester City corner, their third of this first half. 0-0.
Yeah, good run from Alvarez, just getting himself beyond Erling Haaland, became a little bit short. Great little ball from Bernardo Silva. So Zabani make sure he tracked the run. Man City's third corner on this right hand side. Alvarez hit the first man on his second corner. He's got to make sure that he gets it to the far post.
Ball's rolled back to Bernardo Silva, edge of the box, back out to the right hand side, and Alvarez, who lifts it to the far post, headed out by Ryan Christie, and Chris Mepham between them got it clear. Haaland picks it up now for Manchester City, out on the left hand side. He's got support from Akanji. Back it goes to Jeremy Doku, just drops his shoulder and comes in from the left touchline. Rodri sends it back into the centre of the Bournemouth half for Walker. Walker rolls it to the right-hand side for Alvarez. Right-hand corner of the box. Back for Bernardo Silva. Everybody back in red and black. And Bernardo Silva twisting and turning at the edge of the area, trying to make an angle. Gives it back to Alvarez. Clips to the far post. Haaland off the post with a header. And behind for a goal kick. Oh, it's a corner. Somebody got a touch on that to stop Haaland opening his account for the afternoon. It's another corner to Manchester City as the woodwork saves Bournemouth.
Yeah, Man City just toying with Bournemouth. Bernardo Silva in particular, the edge of the 18-yard box, rolled it to Alvarez, just dinked it to the far post. Then Haaland got himself above Lloyd Kelly. It must have just come off of Lloyd Kelly's top of his head, hit the post. Corner for Man City over on the left-hand side.
Taken out to the edge of the area, left-hand corner for Mateo Kovacic, who rolls it across for Carl Walker. Immediately he's closed down by Philip Billing and then clipped in by Bernardo Silva into the box. Kelly heads clear. Still Manchester City pressurised. Comes out to the left-hand side. Fizzed into the box and Ake rises at the far post but can't get his head on it. And it goes behind for a goal kick to Bournemouth as Newport County take the lead against Oldham in the FA Cup. Shane McLaughlin. And AFC Wimbledon 1-0 up on Cheltenham Town in the FA Cup first round. Ali Al-Hamidi with that goal, and in the All-National League tie, Eastleigh now 2-1 up on Boreham Wood. Chris Maguire with that goal. Bournemouth have the ball on halfway, Perry Groves, 0-0.
Dance, just looking at Dominic Solanke, he has been excellent in this first 23 minutes, where every time the ball's come into him, he's held it up. There was just a long ball in there coming from, I think it was Zabani, and he was 1v1 with Akanji, and he held the ball up brilliantly.
Doku down the left-hand side of the Bournemouth box, but he can't get past Mepham, who stuck a foot out and got it half clear. Aarons tries to roll it down the right-hand touchline, but it's intercepted by Nathan Ake. Rodri now for Manchester City, centre of the Bournemouth half, to our right-hand side, with them attacking the south stand, Manchester City, in this first period. Ake again towards the left-hand corner of the box, just clips it infield for Kovacic. Alvarez lays it off to Rodri 30 yards out, and he floats the pass out to Bernardo Silva on the right wing. He's got Kerkez isolated, comes in field, Bernardo Silva gives it back to Alvarez down the right hand side of the box for Walker, but Walker ran out of room and couldn't get the cross in, and it goes behind for a goal kick. Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1. Jeffrey Schlupp puts Palace ahead at Turf Moor. Stockport 1, Worksop 1. The non-league side from the Northern Premier League are level at Stockport through Jay Rollins. Bristol Rovers 2-1 up on Whitby. Now, Whitby did get a goal back, but Luke Thomas has put Bristol Rovers further ahead. You're with Talksport 2 in the Premier League. Earlier today, Manchester United won by a goal to nil. Manchester City 0-0 with Bournemouth. But here's Haaland into the area, making room for a shot. It's blocked on its way to goal by Lloyd Kelly. And then there were enough red and black shirts back to hook the ball out of danger. Haaland's had a couple of sighters, but hasn't got one on target yet.
Yeah, just good link-up play with Erling Haaland and Alvarez. Just Kirkes comes sliding in. Erling Haaland just skips past him with gets onto his right foot, and he doesn't really get enough purchase on it, Dance. Doesn't get enough power on his shot, and it enabled Lloyd Kelly to come sliding in and get the block on. So it's just Man City just up in the tempo in possession. But you have to say that Andoni Iraola's Bournemouth have been very well organised, very well structured.
Well, we've got to the 24-minute mark, and here we are with the score at Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 0.
Well, I think Radu's only had one save to make with a shot on target, and that was from a P-roll, was it, from Rodri? So Andoni Iraola, the Bournemouth manager, will be absolutely delighted with the way his Bournemouth side have set their stall up, and they've been very progressive in possession as well.
Hereford 0, Gillingham 1 in the FA Cup. Stephen Clements now in charge of the Gills, and they lead at Edgar Street. Here's Bernardo Silva down the right-hand side of the box for Manchester City. Rolls it back to Rodri. Tries to set himself for a drive 30 yards out. Thinks better of it in the end and plays a square pass to Mateo Kovacic. Now Bernardo Silva has it again. To the right-hand corner of the Bournemouth penalty area. Checks to cross with his left and then feints back onto his right. Kyle Walker in support down the right-hand side of the area. Can't find the room to get a cross in, so it's played in to Alvarez. Back out to the right wing and Kyle Walker. Again, everybody in red and black behind the ball. Bar Solanke, who's just drifted a little bit further downfield now. Ake plays it out to the left as Manchester City spread the play. Receives it back from Jeremy Doku. Ake against his old club. Doku starts to make a run down the left-hand side of the box, but that's cleared away by Aarons up to halfway. It's currently 0-0 then between Manchester City and Bournemouth. And for the latest odds, head to William Hill, betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage, where right now Manchester City to win 8-1 on, Bournemouth to get the win 18-1 against, the draw 6-1. That's all thanks to William Hill. Get epic value all season with William Hill. It's 18+, and the website is begambleaware.org. Ian Danter and Perry Groves with you at the Etihad Stadium. Marine have equalised against Harrogate in the League Cup 1-1. The Northern Premier League side level through Chris Doyle, and Bristol Rovers 3-1 up on Whitby now at the Mem. Giovanni Brown with the third. Here's Bernardo Silva for Manchester City, finding Alvarez at the edge of the area. His drive is blocked behind for yet another corner. That's 5 corners already for Manchester City, and we haven't reached half an hour yet. 0-0.
And to be fair, Bournemouth have been putting their bodies on the line. That all started with a brilliant ball from Rodri, just piercing through the Bournemouth midfield into Erling Haaland. Come out to Alvarez. In the end, it was a decent block from Zabani for Man City. Corner over on their left-hand side. 3 of their 5 corners, Dance, have played short of an 80 edge of the 18-yard box. And
they go short again to Mateo Kovacic to the left-hand corner of the area. Rolls it across to Bernardo Silva, just wide of the post. Radu was flying to his right, hoping that was going to go the wrong side of the post from Manchester City's point of view, and it can't have been that far away from the angle we were at. We couldn't quite see, but he struck it so sweetly, Bernardo Silva, and it was only just wide. Goal kick, 0-0.
Yes, that different corner ploy again, dancing it, just rolling it to the 18-yard box into Kovacic. He just rolls it square to Bernardo Silva, and he gets his left foot wrapped round it. You said there, Radu looked like he'd been shot out of a cannon going to his right-hand side, and we thought it was going to nestle in the top right-hand corner. It just sort of scrapes the post and goes wide.
West Ham in front at Brentford. Brentford 1, West Ham United 2, Jared Bowen. And Middlesbrough lead at Plymouth by a goal to nil. Another long trip down to Devon for Borough fans after they were in Exeter on Tuesday. Josh Coburn putting Borough ahead at Home Park.
Jared Bowen, the first Premier League player ever to score in a team's first 6 away Premier League games.
That's a great stat. Where are all the inane stats today? You're coming out with corkers today, Perry.
I thought that was inane.
No, that's great.
Good. All right, I'll save. I've got a couple of inane ones.
Okay, good. It makes me happy. Manchester City 0, Bournemouth 0. 28 minutes gone. Bernardo Silva scheming down this right-hand side for the citizens. Infield it goes to Rodri, powering towards the edge of the box. Walker again showing for it on the right wing, about 10 yards from the dead ball line, gives it back to Bernardo Silva, has to just clip it infield to Akanji. Akanji gives it back to Walker, makes space for a cross, and it should be Radu's. He punches it clear as Haaland was trying to run across him. He did get it punched clear, but not that far clear. Ake now has it for City, out to the left-hand side, and Doku, left-hand corner of the area, comes inside onto his right, finds Rodri, plays it back to Doku! Brilliant goal! A 1-2 pass, Jeremy Doku to Rodri, and Rodri with a sumptuous ball back to the Belgian, and Doku managed to screw it past the goalkeeper for his second Premier League goal. Pep Guardiola's been singing Doku's praises about how much he picks up in terms of information. Well, he's just picked up another goal to add to his tally this season. Manchester City 1, Bournemouth 0.
Yeah, Doku says to Radu, I thank you, because as he's coming from that left-hand side, he's been Man City's main source of danger. Said just plays a little 1-2 with Rodri, who's on the edge of the 18-yard box. Rodri just, it's a delightful little layoff with the instep of his right foot to Doku. Just first time, just bends it round Radu to his left-hand side, giving him absolutely no chance whatsoever. Fantastic goal for Man City. We mentioned about Rodri dancing me before the game being instrumental for Man City, exactly what he's proved there. And Doku was a really cool finish with the instep of his right foot.
Jeremy Doku, 21 years of age. He cost just over £50 million when he arrived from Rennes in August, made massive improvements last season at Rennes after a slightly hodgepodge start to his professional career, but apparently he's learning at such a quick rate under Pep Guardiola. That's why he's back in the side today and he's amongst the goals. So they only lasted just under half an hour, did Bournemouth, before Manchester City found their way in front. Stevenage 1, Tranmere 1. Luke Norris for Tranmere. Harrogate back in front at Marine in the FA Cup. Sam Follering and Scarborough are ahead, the National League North side, against Forest Green of League 2. And a yellow card meantime for Alex Scott in the Bournemouth midfield for a challenge on halfway. So 1-0 here. Or was it Billing, sorry, who got the yellow card, forgive me. It is 1-0 to Manchester City, and as things stand, Perry, they're going back top of the league.
Well, to be fair, Dance, we said that Radu hadn't had a save to make really in anger, apart from Rodri's sort of P-roller shot to him, and then that's the second shot that's been on target, and it shows you the clinical nature of Man City. They've gone 1-0 up with half an hour gone, so it's going to be a long 60 minutes plus now for Bournemouth, because up until then they've defended resolutely. But this Man City, they're just like Toreadors, Dance, aren't they? They just like sort of toy with you. And you've got Bernardo Silva, Kovacic, Rodri like the picadors, and normally it's Erling Haaland who's the matador, but so far this afternoon it's been Jeremy Doku who's been the matador to finish Bournemouth off. And you said about learning from Pep Guardiola, it took Jack Grealish nearly a season, didn't it, to learn, and I don't think Calvin Phillips has learnt yet, so Doku's done quite well.
Alvarez finds Doku in the centre of the Bournemouth half. Walker making tracks on the outside of him. It's given out to the right wing and Kyle Walker now. Doku goes back down the right-hand side of the area, rolls his foot on the ball to take it away from Mepham, gives it back to Bernardo Silva. 2-0 Manchester City. Magnificent goal. Doku turns from goal scorer to provider, and it's quite magnificently done by Jeremy Doku to set up Bernardo Silva, who rolled the ball into the bottom corner with all the confidence you'd expect from one of Manchester City's very best players. They're really going through the gears now as they're heading back to the top of the Premier League, surely. Manchester City 2, Bournemouth 0.
Dances that man, Jeremy Doku, again coming off from that left flank, finds himself central, getting over to the right-hand side, just plays a little give and go with Kyle Walker, and he's 1v1 with Zabiani. And do you know what, Dance? Actually, it's Mepham who's come over, and I've done my ligaments in my knees. God knows what Doku's done to the Bournemouth defenders' knees, because he just cut inside Mepham and he's just done a foot over, a roll over, and then he's just rolled it into Bernardo Silva and just invites him, just did it first time with his left foot, gives Radu absolutely no chance whatsoever. Fantastic play from Jeremy Doku coming for that left-hand side to put Man City 2-0 up over Bournemouth.
So Bernardo Silva gets his second Premier League goal of the season for Manchester City, scored against West Ham. 4 last year in the Premier League for Bernardo Silva. Barry Bannon's been sent off for Sheffield Wednesday. They are at Bristol City this afternoon, 0-0 at Ashton Gate, but a straight red card for Barry Bannon. Cambridge 1, Bracknell 0 in the FA Cup for Jerry Okenabiri, who's scored FA Cup goals in the past, I seem to remember, for might be Shrewsbury Town when he was there, but he's given them the lead. And it's 2-0 here to Manchester City, and Bournemouth's pre-game plans are going to have to be readjusted now, or are they, Perry Groves?
No, they'll be exactly the same, Dance, because obviously they set out, it was damage limitation and the 5-4-1 sort of formation up until the half-hour mark. You know, they've done it quite nicely, but say the quality in this Man City side, and it's all been ignited by Jeremy Doku, scoring the first and getting his assist for the second. And they panned to Kevin De Bruyne, Dance, in the stand. Obviously he's injured, and Kevin De Bruyne loved the roll over, didn't he, and a foot over, and exactly what Jeremy Doku did there to Chris Mepham. So you have to sort of unscrew Chris Mepham from out of the ground by the time he span round and round.
Yeah.
And we said before as well that Mepham found himself 1v1 3 times in that first half hour over on the right hand side, and obviously he's followed Doku over to his left hand side, and the centre half, that's the last place you want to be 1v1 with Jeremy Doku, because he has got proper happy feet.
And he has scored one and made one as Manchester City lead by 2-0 with 10 minutes to half-time on Talksport 2. And there is a corner kick. Manchester City have their 6th corner of this first half. Again, it's on the right-hand side where the Colin Bell stand meets the south stand, just down to our right-hand side. Right-footed outswinger to come from Alvarez. Kovacic there for a short. It's given to Kovacic, who's just behind him. Rolls it back to Bernardo Silva near the right-hand corner of the Bournemouth penalty area. Gives it back to Alvarez down the right-hand side of the box. Hit against Tavernier. Corner number 7 for Manchester City at 2-0 up.
Yeah, Man City keep playing it to the edge of the 18-yard box. I think it's because they know that they got Mepham, Zabiani and Kelly, obviously a lot of height in the Bournemouth back 3. So I think they're just trying to move them. They've just played another short corner.
To Kovacic and Bernardo Silva again. Right-hand corner of the area. Jinks back onto his left foot. Rolls it back to Jeremy Doku at the edge of the box. Goes for goal! 3-0! Took a deflection on its way through. Jeremy Doku is having the time of his life out there for Manchester City, and he makes it 3-0 with a left-footed shot from the edge of the box that took a nick off a Bournemouth leg and took it away from Radu and into the bottom corner. Manchester City going back top of the pile in some style. Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0.
Yeah, it's unstoppable Jeremy Doku. We said it was a feature of Man City's play with the short corners that come to the edge of the 18-yard box. Same thing again, Alvarez into Kovacic into Bernardo Silva, and he just checks on his left foot, he rolls it to Jeremy Doku, just puts his foot on the top of the ball, then just transmits it to his left-hand side with his left foot. He gets a good strike down, as he said. I think it might have taken just a slight defection.
Might have been off his own player, actually. It might have been off, was it Akanji who was in the area there that might have got a touch? I think it was, you know. I think it came off Manuel Akanji. He might be claiming it.
Yes, if it was
in the dressing room at half-time.
You'd be claiming it because it's come off of his back. So
well, it's going deflection. Wide. The angle we've just seen shows the ball was going wide. So I think them. Well, whether they do argue about those sorts of things in dressing rooms at half-time, I think that end up being given to Manuel Akanji for 3-0. Yeah,
there won't be any argument, Dan, you said there, because it's come off his the middle of his back, Akanji. So this is going to be. We thought it could be a long afternoon for Bournemouth, Dance. 3-0 down after 38 minutes. This is all about professional pride now for Bournemouth, because we said before the game the last thing you want to do is be coming to the Etihad and getting yourself beaten 6s and 7s.
And it's 3-0 and we've got 7 minutes to half time, and Erling Haaland hasn't got on the score sheet yet. a man with 5 Premier League hat-tricks to his name. Oh, given away by Radu. It's at the edge of the area with Alvarez. Across comes Billing to spare Radu's blushes, but Manchester City win possession back again. And it's with Rodri, goes back to the halfway line. Goals going in elsewhere. Plymouth 1, Middlesbrough 1. Plymouth equalised through yours and mine favourite player, Ballymumba Perry, equalises for Plymouth. Coventry lead at Preston. Hadji Wright, he needed that goal, the American, and he's put Coventry ahead at Deepdale. Wickham lead 2-0 at Bradford now in the FA Cup. An own goal from Sam Stubbs has put Wickham further clear. Reading 1, MK Dons 1. Alex Gilby for MK Dons equalises, and Stockport back in front against Worksop. 2-1 they lead. Another goal for Kyle Wootton. You're up to date on Talksport 2. 3-0 to Manchester City with just over 5 minutes to half time. Doku on a hat-trick, tries to play the ball across the face of goal for Alvarez, but it just bobbles and dips into the arms of Radu at his near post. Jeremy Doku on a hat-trick, or at least he is at the moment, until the goal gets chalked off against him, but he's really enjoying himself out there, Jeremy Doku.
Yeah, he's finding himself again 1v1 against Max Aarons. And he can go inside, he can go outside, he normally makes right decisions. Dance, when he's got the ball, when he gets to the byline, he tries to dink it to the far post, and Chris Mepham just got away one there because he's had a massive swipe of it, and he's completely need to chalk his right boot a bit more. He's completely sliced it. He ended up just goes harmlessly into Radu's hands just to give Bournemouth a little bit of respite.
In the FA Cup, Bolton 1, Solihull Moors 0. He's offside. Ricardo Santos for Bolton. In the FA Cup first round, 30 ties in that competition, kicking off at 3 o'clock. Last night, what a performance from Bromley to earn to earn a replay at Barnsley, 3-3. Now Bournemouth coming forward to the edge of the area. Alex Scott tries to get a drive. It's blocked out to the right-hand side. Solanke tries to head it goalwards, but it's a comfortable claim for Ederson in the end. And there's a player gone down. Scott's gone down inside the area, clutching his left leg, looking in some distress as he goes to ground. But that was a rare foray forward for Bolton Wanderers. Sorry, it was Horsham that got a 3-3, wasn't it, with Barnsley last night to win a replay, and Walsall winning 4-1 at Sheffield United. Incidentally, Plymouth are now in front at home to Middlesbrough. They were 1-0 down, but Finn Azaz has made it Plymouth 2, Middlesbrough 1. Here on Talksport 2 with less than 4 minutes of normal time to the break. The rain starting to fall a bit heavier at the Etihad Stadium. And it's Manchester City 3-0 up on Bournemouth. Perry Groves.
I think, is that the first or second time that Ederson's touched the ball?
Yeah.
Definitely in free play with his hands. I think it's the first time, isn't it?
Yes.
That he's touched it. And just looking there when the ball came into the box, Adam Scott tries to get his shot away. Rodri's come across and blocked him with the outside of his right foot. And he's actually tackled Adam Scott, and I think what's happened is then Adam Scott's turned his right knee outwards, so hopefully it's not too much damage.
Well, he's such a clever little player, Alex Scott. He's only 20 years of age, cost Bournemouth £22 million to bring back to his old club from Bristol City. Did have a knee injury at the start of the season, made his debut against Wolves. Made nearly 100 appearances for Bristol City. You're listening to Man City 3, Bournemouth 0 on Talksport 2 with Now. Don't forget that with Now you can stream all the Sky Sports action like Newcastle against Arsenal live today for £11.99. No contract. Search Now Sports. Perry.
Yes, Man City, Dance. I think we can safely say the game is done and dusted. You know, it's damage limitation for Bournemouth. They've just set a top flight record of 22 consecutive home wins on the spin in all competitions in the top flight. Hasn't been done since 1892. I think it was Sunderland.
See, more great stats from Perry Groves. He's got a load of them. Preston equalise against Coventry at Deepdale, 1-1 Dwayne Holmes. And Hull equalise at West Brom, same score there, 1-1 Louis Coyle. Manchester City working the ball forward and they force a corner. Zabani under pressure from Haaland, had to turn the ball behind at the south stand end for another Manchester City corner, their 8th of this first half. But it's not the corners that have led to the 3 goals.
But I'm no mystic, Meg, Dance, but I think that they might either play this short or just then ping it out to the 18-yard box.
Now, unfortunately, Alex Scott is not going to be able to continue. He's being helped around behind the goal to our left-hand side at the family stand end by one of the Bournemouth physios. And Joe Rothwell has come on to replace Alex Scott, and we hope that's not too serious an injury for the young lad.
Well, let's just hope it's not like too serious ligament damage. He's definitely damaged his right knee ligaments there, Dante, because he completely turned his knee outwards.
Ball played back to Kovacic, short corner again. Back out to the left-hand side, and Julian Alvarez, who checks the ball onto his right foot, gives it back to Kovacic once more. Bernardo Silva just lays it back to Kyle Walker. Drilled out to the left-hand side once more for Julian Alvarez. Again, it's just flicked in field for Kovacic. He tries to play a more forward pass into the area, and it was cleared away by Milos Kerkez. And Tavernier was gamely giving chase. For goodness me, Kyle Walker, he's still pretty rapid over the ground. He might be 33 years of age, but he's running with the pace of a man 10 years younger.
I think it's like Linford Christie, Dad. He's actually getting quicker as he's getting older.
Yeah. Incredible
and you can
pace.
Bet your life this week, where Man City obviously had the whole week off, that the set-piece coach looked like he's been really busy, because from the corners, out of the 8 corners, 5 of them have been played either short or to the edge of the 18-yard box, because they know obviously that Bournemouth are very good zonally along that 6-yard box, just trying to move the Bournemouth defence around.
Thoughts of Perry Groves alongside me, Ian Dancer, former Arsenal title winner. More live football to come tomorrow lunchtime in the Championship. Norwich against Blackburn. Join us from 11:45 here on Talksport 2, kick-off at noon. And then Monday night game night on Talksport. What a game. I suspect Chelsea want them both to lose. Tottenham against Chelsea at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
You said that Glenn Hoddle's got his foot in both camps.
Kind of, yeah. Well, he managed Chelsea and played for Tottenham. I think that's fair.
I think he's got his left foot in Spurs' camp, hasn't he?
Yeah.
The more cultured left foot on that side.
Mind you, both feet were pretty decent. Sutton nil, AFC Fylde 1 as Jonathan Utsabasi puts AFC Fylde ahead against the League 2 basement side. Haaland tried to latch onto a long ball downfield, but it evaded him. But given away by Radu. And Kyle Walker sets Alvarez in possession. Midway point of the Bournemouth half. Has to flick it back to Akanji. Bristol Rovers 4, Whitby 1 in the FA Cup. And Preston have turned it around in the Championship. They were behind at home to Coventry. It's now 2-1. Alan Brown with the penalty makes it Preston 2, Coventry 1. Good running from Max Aarons, running a couple of challenges as he moves all the way across from right to left and tries to set Kerkez away in a race with Kyle Walker. And frankly, there was only going to be one winner there, Perry Groves.
Say Max Aarons did really well coming across and actually found himself about a yard away from Kerkez, the left back. And if I was Max Aarons, I'd be saying to Chris Mepham, do us a favour, just go and fill over on that right hand side for me for like 3 or 4 minutes before we get into half time, because it's a long way back across that side of the pitch.
So it's with Kovacic and gives it back to John Stones, who has had a relatively quiet afternoon, although we must credit Dominic Solanke. Every ball pretty much that's been played up to him he's dealt with, and he's either found a teammate or held it up and brought others into play.
Look, to be fair, obviously Man City are very comfortable when they're 3-0 up, but it hasn't been a shocking performance from Bournemouth.
Well, here comes Alvarez trying to drive forward. Haaland's calling for it at the edge of the area. Haaland in space inside the area, blocked by Zabani. Behind for a corner kick. You'd have put your house on Haaland notching his customary goal, but Zabani had other ideas. Corner number 9 for Manchester City at 3-0.
Dance, I can't believe that Erling Haaland has taken a touch, because as he makes the run from right to left, it's on his left foot, and all he's got to do is take it first time and bend it round Radu. And you said there, Zabani did really well tracking his run, but Erling Haaland would be really frustrated with himself there, because he should be in that first time.
Another short corner for Manchester City, left-hand side. Doku, who scored the second and might have scored the third, rolls it back to Bernardo Silva at the edge of the D. He's got Kyle Walker calling for it to be rolled back to him, trying to shot along the deck, but it was blocked by a Bournemouth leg and cleared out to the middle of the half. But the blue shirts of Manchester City win it back once again. Doku riding a challenge. Can he bring it in from the byline? He does cross it in, headed out by Kerkez to Bernardo Silva, 25 yards out, rolls the ball to his left for Rodri. Looking to score the perfect goal here again, Manchester City, and sometimes they do it. Here's Bernardo Silva into the area, right hand side, plays it back to the edge of the area looking for Stones, but Tavernier got back and ratcheted the ball away from John Stones and clips the ball down the left hand side over the head of Ryan Christie. As we're moving towards the end of the first half, we've had 3.5 minutes to the minimum 4 that Amid added on. Here at the Etihad, one last chance maybe for Manchester City to extend their lead. Alvarez carrying the ball up to the edge of the area. 4 or 5 Bournemouth players defending inside the box, so he goes backwards to John Stones and then to Kyle Walker. Now Rodri slips it down the right wing for Bernardo Silva. Further down the right is Alvarez. Early cross beyond Haaland. Will it break for Doku left hand side? No, it won't. It's cleared away. And referee Craig Pawson blows the whistle for half time. Exhibition stuff from Manchester City, going top of the Premier League once again for sure. Jeremy Doku really enjoying himself out there, scoring one. He thought he'd scored a second, but I think that third goal is going to be credited in the end to Manuel Akanji, because the drive from Doku came off the back of the Swiss Manuel Akanji on its way to goal. That was goal number 3. Manchester City had to wait 30 minutes for Doku to put them in front after he played a lovely 1-2 with Rodri. Bernardo Silva got number 2 when he was set up by Doku 3 minutes later, and then that third from Akanji on 37. Bournemouth have barely laid a glove on Manchester City this afternoon, and it could and probably is from now on a case of damage limitation for Andoni Iraola. It's a question of how many more Man City will score. At the break, Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0.
Thank you very much, Dance. We knew it was going to come, Perry Groves, eventually, but actually Bournemouth did quite well to keep them out for a good half an hour.
Yeah, very much so. They defended really well. They had that sort of the 5 across the back and 4 in midfield, and the distances between those defenders, midfield and forwards, really good. We got to half an hour, but what Man City do, they actually, we mentioned before the game, didn't we, about a physical test and a mental test. They just wear you down. They just make sure that they scramble your brain. And I have to say that Jeremy Doku, obviously playing on the left wing, he's been absolutely outstanding. If you was a young winger and you said, right, there's a player to watch, you know, how to learn your trade, in the first half it would have been Jeremy Doku, because in this day and age a lot of wingers come inside too much. They look for the easy pass. He goes outside, he comes inside, he plays little 1-2s, he gets his shots off. He's been absolute. I think Max Aarons on that right-hand side, he'll probably be in an ice bath at half-time, because, and Chris Mepham as well, because he's found himself 1v1 with him, because he's been virtually unplayable.
Yeah, he's been incredible, absolutely incredible. And actually, big up to William Hill's Lee Phelps, who did mention him at the beginning when we were previewing this game as one to watch in terms of the scoring charts. And I think it has been accredited, by the way, to Akanji, that second Doku goal, which means that he's got a goal and 2 assists in the first half. What more?
Well, his goal was excellent. So he comes in from that left-hand side, it's a little give and go with Rodri. Rodri just lays it off with his instep, and Doku just bends it with the instep of his right foot, gives Radio absolutely no chance. The second goal, I mentioned about Chris Mepham coming across and, you know, having to unscrew him out of the ground and probably doing... I've done my knee ligaments, I think Dance had, because he had Michael Flatley foot overs, he had rollovers, he had step overs, and then he just makes sure that he just rolls it in again. The pace of the pass is fantastic into Bernardo Silva, who just sort of glides it with his left foot past Raju. And then the third goal is one of those short corners, which has been a feature of Man City's play in this first half, because they've had short corners, they've put it to the edge of the box, because they know that Bournemouth have a lot of height, from set pieces. So they're trying to move the Bournemouth defence around, and it came to Doku, and he's got his shot off, and it's obviously come off the back of Akanji, give Raju absolutely no chance, as you said there. So Jeremy Doku's got himself a goal and 2 assists.
With the young boys at home on Tuesday in the Champions League, you expecting Pep Guardiola to make changes in the second half?
Well, I think Bournemouth could be the old boys by the time they get off of this pitch, to be fair, Faye, because
very good.
If you look at the bench, can you imagine if you're the Bournemouth players? And as I say, they haven't jacked it in, you know, they've been disciplined, they've tried to be resolute, but they've just been moved around sort of mentally and physically. But then all of a sudden, say look, you've got like 25 minutes to go, half hour to go, and then Pep Guardiola goes, okay, right, Doku and Bernardo Silva, you come off, you have a rest, and he puts on Foden and Nunez and Grealish. Joe, so this is going to be a very long 45 minutes for Bournemouth.
And Haaland's not on the score sheet.
Well,
that's quite incredible.
He will be absolutely fuming, especially the last minute of the first half where he gets put through by Rodri and he's 1v1 with Raju. And basically, that's Haaland. He should just bend it with his left foot and he takes another touch. Biani comes across and block tackles him. But he will be absolutely fuming. You know, like when centre forwards come and say, well, no, it's about the team winning, I'm not bothered about me scoring. Nonsense. He will be absolutely chomping at the bit to get out in the second half and see if he can get himself on the score sheet. But I've got to say, Bournemouth, Man City just have far better players than what Bournemouth do. And Man City's players have been focused. There's been no complacency there whatsoever. And it's no detriment to Bournemouth. But that's just the gulf of quality in the two sides.
And I just saw back Doku's assist for Bernardo Silva, and the footwork was just, oh my goodness me, incredible. But also, no one mentioned the little no-look ball from Kyle Walker to thread him in the first place from the right-hand side, which was also an absolute delight. Right, so it is Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0 at the Etihad. But let's have a look ahead to tonight's Premier League action with Now Sports.
Stay ahead of the game on Talksport 2 with Now. Stream all the Sky Sports action like Newcastle versus Arsenal live today for $11.99, no contract. Search Now Sports, 18 plus, stream via internet, terms apply.
Well, Talksport's Graham Courtney is up at St James's Park. How are you, Graham? Lovely to talk to you.
Yeah, good to talk to you, Faye. Absolutely spot on. Looking forward to this one as well.
Yeah.
Packed house at St James's.
Well, as always, I mean, the atmosphere that they bring there is just something else. But I don't really know how to preview this game properly because Newcastle have got so many injuries.
Yeah,
and I was talking to Dance and Perry Groves earlier on about it, and I don't think any of us know. And Perry kind of thought, a score draw would be about right. How are you seeing it?
I've actually gone for a 2-2 in this one because, I have to say Arsenal's record at this ground, very, very impressive. Won 8 of their last 10 visits here. Only defeat a couple of years ago, and that defeat actually stopped them getting in the Champions League. But I have to say, in terms of those injuries, it's really, the problem is with Newcastle, of course, they may be the world's richest football club and all that, but the trouble is with financial fair play, you can't go out there, you can't buy 25 Messis and all that type of thing.
Thank goodness for that.
Well, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. You need a team, you don't need individuals. And I think that the problem that Newcastle have got is that they probably wouldn't admit it. If you speak to the likes of Eddie Howe and the owners, Amanda Staveley and people like that, they wouldn't admit the fact that they're ahead of where they should be. When they came into this football club a year and a half ago, they will have been hoping just to actually, easy-ozy, let's see how we can do. We might just sneak into Europe. Or what do you know? You're in the Champions League, so you're in there with the really big boys. And people are now expecting Newcastle to do the same thing again. And as we're finding out now, is that it's the usual story, isn't it, Faye? If you want to see how good a football team is, don't look at the starting 11. Look at the bench.
Yes.
And when you look at Newcastle's bench, you sort of think, well, I'm not quite sure how you're going to bring on. For example, last weekend when they played at Wolves, Newcastle only made one substitution for the simple reason being, you're probably looking at the rest of the squad thinking, well, if you bring him off and put him on, is that actually going to improve things? Probably not. So that's the main problem Newcastle have got. And with some key injuries, the likes of Sven Botman, Alexander Isak, Jacob Murphy, Elliot Anderson, Harvey Barnes, all those sort of players, they've probably been the starting lineup or very close to it. So the fact that they aren't involved, the Newcastle squad getting really stretched. And of course, it's an evening game here, and then it's a tea time game kick-off on Tuesday when they take on Borussia Dortmund.
Which is absolutely massive. Two key games going ahead for Newcastle. Arsenal have been in decent form though, and certainly pushing for that top spot as well, and they can do some real damage even when some of their players aren't playing at their best. Yeah,
you're absolutely right. I think even the most hardened Arsenal fan would be a bit surprised they got knocked out the cup by West Ham the other night. So I'm expecting there will be some changes. I don't think Eddie Howe will make any. Well, I don't think he'll make any changes. I mean, you look at their squad and you think, well, who are you going to bring in? Who's he going to leave out? So I wouldn't be at all surprised though if Mikel Arteta doesn't bring in the likes of Odegaard, Gabriel, Tomiyasu and people like that, just to strengthen it up, because they know they're in for a tough game here tonight. They don't play in Europe until Wednesday, so they've got an extra day compared to Newcastle, so they can go for it. They'll be back to full strength this evening. And as I said, you know, when you look at Arsenal's record at this ground, they'll be full of confidence down there. They're really, really well. And I think we're in for a cracking game.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. You've got updates on Talksport. Thanks as always, Graham.
Pleasure, Faye.
Take care. That was a look ahead to this afternoon's Premier League action, or this evening's really, because it'll be dark by 5:30, won't it? Don't forget, that's with Now Sports, and you can stream all the Sky Sports action, just like Newcastle against Arsenal. It's live today for £11.99. No contract. Just search Now Sports.
Stay ahead of the game on Talksport 2 with Now. Stream all the Sky Sports action like Newcastle versus Arsenal live today for £11.99. No contract. Search Now Sports 18 plus. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
This is Game Day Live on Talksport 2. Halftime classifieds coming next.
Talksport 2, official broadcast partner of the EFL.
Game Day exclusive on Talksport 2 with Now. Stream all the Sky Sports action like Newcastle versus Arsenal live today for £11.99. No contract. Search Now Sports 18 plus. Stream via internet. Terms apply.
Rodri to De Bruyne, flicked on to Walker. Goal! No one saw that coming.
Or as we say in Japan, no warutaka wa tsume o kakusu. The smart hawk hides its talents. For a taste beyond expected, Asahi Super Dry, official beer partners of Manchester City. Enjoy responsibly. Visit drinkaway.co.uk.
Reckon the £100 million wonder kid will pay off? Heard that rumour about their striker. Can't wait to see what the pundits make of that booking. Looking forward to the match report on this one. When it comes to football, never miss a story. From news and opinion to interviews and gossip. Get the best coverage at thesun.co.uk.
Running low on rule plugs? Going through cutting discs on the double? With Screwfix Trade Bulk Save, you can get up to 10% off the stuff you use the most. Buy more and save more on thousands of products. From everyday essentials like sealants to switches and sockets. And with Click and Collect, you can get what you need in as little as 1 minute. Shop now on the app at screwfix.com or in store. Screwfix, the choice of champions. T's and C's apply. Visit screwfix.com for full details.
We've only just had Halloween. Surely it's too soon for an advent calendar, isn't it? Nope. Because this year, Christmas starts early with McDonald's Festive Wins. Every day in November, you can unlock tasty food offers, grab amazing Mackey's merch, or even win incredible prizes. Play Festive Wins now, only on the McDonald's app. 18 plus until the 30th of November. 1 entry per day. UK only. T's and C's apply.
We all fantasize about our perfect home. Sipping a morning coffee out on the terrace. Good morning, Mr. Squirrel.
Morning.
The kids building a treehouse in the garden.
I'm living my perfect childhood.
But come on, this isn't real. Listen, if you're serious about making your fantasy a reality, find out what your home is worth instantly with a free online valuation estimate. Get real about moving. Get on the market. Most common time to obtain an online quote between 1st of June 2022 and 30th of September 2022 is under 3 minutes. Excludes Northern Ireland.
Y'all ready for something new? Just eat. Oh, you thought it was just burgers and fries. They got more flavors than you tasted or you heard in your life. Yummy. And it ain't only restaurants anymore. We can go bananas at the grocery store. I'm a bad girl, but my takeout better. What you need, dude? I could cop a taco platter. And my sushi train is on loop. When you're this slick, what you gon' do? Did somebody say just eat?
A pitch-perfect delivery of Premier League football.
Game day. The epicenter of world-class football coverage.
Oh, my word!
Game day exclusive.
On Talksport 2.
Game day. Halftime classifieds.
This is Game Day Live on Talksport 2. I'm Faye Carruthers. Let's take a classified check on the halftime scores, starting with
Premier League.
It was a result at Craven Cottage. Fulham 0, Manchester United 1 at half-time. Brentford 1, West Ham 2. Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 1. Everton 1, Brighton 0. Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0. Sheffield United 0, Wolves 0.
Sky Bet Championship.
Birmingham 1, Ipswich Town 0, Bristol City 0, Sheffield Wednesday 0, Huddersfield 0, Watford 0, Millwall 0, Southampton 0, Plymouth 2, Middlesbrough 1, Preston 2, Coventry 1, Rotherham 0, QPR 0, Stoke 0, Cardiff 0, Swansea 0, Sunderland 0, and West Brom 1, Hull City 1. Brilliant stuff. So Manchester City top of the table and 3-0 to the good against Bournemouth at the Etihad. Our commentary team, a former Arsenal winger Perry Groves, annual match commentator Ian Danter, and the rain has started teeming down in Manchester, and it looks like Phil Foden is warming up, Dance.
He is, Faith, thank you very much. But also Marco Senesi is warming up for Bournemouth, and the two words that Perry Groves said was, yeah, cheers for that.
if you're a centre-half, your team's 3-0 down, and like the opponent's one of the best Premier League teams that there's probably been, and you're thinking, yeah, as a centre-half, you're not making eye contact with your manager.
And he's coming on for Mepham. That's the change, Faye.
Okay.
Senesi for Mepham.
Excellent stuff. Well, strap yourselves in, Bournemouth fans. He could be in for some 45 minutes. Manchester City 3-0 to the good. Let's head back to the Etihad. Sit back and enjoy live and exclusive second half action here on Talksport 2 with Perry Groves and Ian Danter.
Thanks, Faye. And the player coming off for Manchester City, intriguingly, is Erling Haaland to make way for Phil Foden. He had a couple of chances in that first half, Haaland. No sign of an injury as he came off at the break. What do you think that is, Perry Groves?
Dan, do you know what? Actually, he did have a bit of a limp, because, you know, when we said about missing that chance with his left foot, when Zabiani got across, I think Zabiani...
Clear your throat. I think Zabiani did get a touch on his foot. It might have just affected him a little bit, but Haaland's gone off. Foden is on. Perry's having a little drink of water. We're back underway. Bournemouth in their red and black stripes are heading for the south stand, away to our right in this second half, where their supporters are. Kirkes tries to get the ball through to Ryan Christie at the edge of the area, but it's cleared away by Manchester City. So it's Manchester City in their sky blue shirts and socks and the white shorts. They will be attacking the family stand to our left in this second half, with Ederson in goal, Walker, Stones, Akanji, Ake, Rodri, Kovacic, Bernardo Silva, Alvarez, Doku, and now Foden. For Bournemouth, Radu in goal. It's now Senesi, Zabani, Kelly, Aarons and Kirkes at wing-backs, Christie, Rothwell, Billing, Tavernier and Solanke. Rothwell came on for the injured Alex Scott as Christie gets to the byline and Solanke turns it in, but the offside flag has gone up against Ryan Christie as Bournemouth got the ball down the right-hand side, sent the ball in. Solanke tucked it in very neatly, squeezed it in at the near post, but the flag had gone up and it stays 3-0 to Manchester City.
Yeah, it was really good play by Bournemouth down their right-hand side. And Ryan Christie just went a little bit too early. It was a great cutback dance from the touchline. You said there, Solanke get himself across the near post, just side-footing past Ederson. Just Ryan Christie just needs to hold his run a little bit.
Perry's got rid of the frog in his throat. At least I assume so, mate. All good.
Bob Fleming's gone.
VAR is just making absolutely sure that this is indeed offside against Ryan Christie. The Jumbotron screens are showing everybody in the stadium that there is a check currently in process, but it looks, from the angle I've got here on the monitor in front of me, a pretty open and shut case, that Christie is a good a foot offside, I would say, in front of the defenders either side of him.
Yeah, he's just gone off the back of John Stones. You just see, obviously, we've got the 18-yard line running across, so it looks like his left shoulder is offside.
Well, that's the sort of offside that you can see with the naked eye. That's the sort of offside that I don't believe needs lines drawn on a screen to confirm what you and I can see without them.
Yeah, but Simon Hooper is the VAR. Then I think that Howard Webb has put all of the officials not only on the pitch, but the officials in the VAR booth back at Stockley Park under a lot of pressure, Dan. So I think they're actually frightened, because obviously...
Which is exactly what we want referees to be, isn't it, eh? We want referees to be scared witless.
Overthinking. That's exactly what they're doing.
I honestly, I don't get it. Ball's back with Radu at the edge of the penalty area for Bournemouth. Manchester City 3-0 up at the Etihad. So Senesi is on for Mepham at the start of this second half, and Lloyd Kelly will clip the ball up to the middle of the half, but all he can find is Rodri. Alvarez is certainly the furthest player forward now that Foden's on the pitch. He's become the focal point of the Manchester City attack, Perry.
Yeah, Alvarez will go up front. You said there, Phil Foden will just go in that little sort of right half, inside right position. That allows Kyle Walker to keep running up that right-hand side.
Which he was just trying to do there, but couldn't keep the ball in play. Went out for a throw. Peterborough 1, Salford 1. Ricky J. Jones, who scored in the week in the Football League Trophy, scores again for Peterborough to make it 1-1 in that FA Cup tie. 3-0 here. Perry.
He was talking about Erling Haaland, obviously, before I had my Bob Fleming coffin fit, and mentioned about the chance that he missed at the end of the first half, where he should have hit it with his left foot straight away. Sabiani come across and tackled him. I think very similar to what happened to Alex Scott when Rodri tackled him. You know, you just sort of turn your knee outwards a little bit. So I think that's just a precautionary measure, because there's no way in the world, if Erling Haaland was fit and your team's 3-0 up at home, as a centre forward like he is, that you'd want to come off.
No. It could be keeping him fresh for young boys in the Champions League to come here in the week, but no, I doubt very much it's that. Haaland would want to stay out there and add to his collection. Remember, 11 goals that he's got already this season in the Premier League. Erling Haaland, top scorer, but no opportunity to add to that today. Didn't score in the first half and not out on the field for the second, having been replaced by Foden at the break. The ball's back with Ederson, the Manchester City goalkeeper, and he's just walking the ball outside the penalty area. Christie comes to close him down, chops it up to halfway, and Alvarez couldn't get the better of Kelly. And Kelly's, I'm impressed with Lloyd Kelly, Perry Groves. I know he's in the part of a defence that shipped 3 this afternoon, but every time I watch him, I'm increasingly impressed with what he does, both with his defensive duties and his passing.
Yeah, he looks very composed, and he gives you a bit of balance, obviously being naturally left-footed. In that first half, his defensive headers were very good. He said he marked space really well when the ball was getting whipped into near post, and his delivery was good when he was in possession, wasn't it? Just getting it into Dominic Solanke. Just looking at Alvarez there playing up front when Ederson just pinged the ball to him, is thinking, "Oh, don't hit it on my head, mate." Just
giving it away. Manchester City, Bournemouth into the area, right-hand side, and Christie tries to get the crossing, but it's blocked by Ake. Deep to the far post it goes. Kirkes went in. Did he get a shove in the back from Kyle Walker? That's what they're claiming for, but nothing doing, says Craig Pawson. It ends up being a goal kick as Cambridge double their lead against Bracknell in the FA Cup at the Abbey. Olukayode Osu with the second for Cambridge.
Yeah, Pep Guardiola won't be very happy, Dance, because that's twice Ederson's had the ball. The first time he put it into Alvarez and put it about a foot over his head. The second time he's trying to come out on this left-hand side to Jeremy Doku and just giving the ball straight away to Kirkes.
More live football to come this afternoon. Once we're done, we're going to be off to South East London, the border with Kent, and Bromley taking on Blackpool in a first round tie. Looking forward to that. Listening to that on my drive home for a bit of FA Cup entertainment. Joe Shannon will be your commentator for that game. We've played 7 minutes. Morecambe have gone 2-1 up at Lincoln. That's League 2 leading at League 1. Tom Bloxham with the second for Morecambe. And Carlisle have equalised at Leyton Orient 1-1. Joe Garner for the Cumbrians. Bolton 2, Solihull Moors 0. Paris Meghoma with the second for the Trotters. And Marine 1, Harrogate 3. Looks like Marine's run is coming to an end. The Northern Premier League side, League 2, Harrogate now 3-1 up. Sam Follering with the third for Harrogate. Manchester City 3-0 up on Bournemouth in this second half. We've played 7 minutes since the restart. Akanji in the centre circle, being pulled by Marcus Tavernier. It's given us a free kick by Craig Pawson. So earlier today, Manchester United got that critical, vital 1-0 win at Fulham. Manchester United 1, Fulham 0. Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0 here at the Etihad. Wow, Swindon 0, Aldershot 5 in the FA Cup. The City come forward down the right-hand side, but Walker crosses into the arms of Radu. Kean Harries gets that 5th goal for Aldershot at the county ground. Wow.
Do you think Swindon might have not been mentally and psychologically ready for what Aldershot had to offer?
I will be interested to hear the manager's thoughts at the end of the game. Massive game at the bottom of the Championship. Rotherham 0, Queen's Park Rangers 1. Martí Cifuentes now in charge at QPR. And they lead through Ilias Chair early in the second half at the New York Stadium. That's a huge goal for QPR. Remember, that's 22nd against 23rd in the Championship. Only Sheffield Wednesday below them in the table. And Sheffield Wednesday have had a man sent off, Barry Bannon at Bristol City, but that game is still scoreless. Here at the Etihad, 3-0 to Manchester City. And the home side just knocking the ball about inside their own half, quite happy, quite content to keep Bournemouth at arm's length. Kovacic being pressurised by Rothwell, just gives it back calmly to John Stones. Stones along the deck up to halfway for Alvarez. He tried to lay it off for Bernardo Silva, but that was won back by Senesi. Into the area for Solanke, just couldn't take the ball with him. And it's cleared away by Manchester City, and Foden just lays it off in midfield for Bernardo Silva. 3-0 still the scoreline.
Yeah, it's really good play from Senesi. There's the ball coming from John Stones into Alvarez. Alvarez has got to be stronger and hold the ball up. Senesi just nicks it in front of him. If he takes more care in his pass with the outside of his left foot, he actually puts Solanke in 1v1.
Oh my giddy aunt. Birmingham City 2, Ipswich 0. An own goal from Cameron Burgess. Wayne Rooney could, and I'll put the heavy on the could, be heading to his first win as the new Birmingham manager after 3 straight defeats.
You'll know this better than me, but before the game today, Birmingham lost one of their last 18 at home against Ipswich in the league. So it looks like he's going to 1 in 19. Wayne Rooney's first victory, and Ipswich won 4 on the spin as well, didn't they?
That's right.
And Kieran McKenna rested.
Well,
I 11, didn't he, midweek?
I was there in midweek at Portman Road when he changed all 11 for the cup tie against Fulham. Presumably he's brought everybody back today, and they're 2-0 down. Oh my goodness. Swindon 0, Aldershot 6. Laurent Tolage has got the 6th goal for the Shots. That's National League Aldershot, remember, at League 2 Swindon. There's only a division between them, but all right, a shock you can countenance, but 6-0.
I think they might have been a little bit lackadaisy. Don't you think, Swindon, maybe?
That's one of Ray Parlour's favourite phrases, laxy-daisy.
Just looking at Man City here, as you said, obviously they're 3-0 up, they know the game's done and dusted.
And here's Foden up to the edge of the D, rolls it to the left-hand corner of the box, and Doku shifting the ball onto his right, then back onto his left as he drives for the byline and wins a corner off Zabarnyi. 10th corner of the game for Manchester City. They're 3-0 up here.
Yeah, Jeremy Doku again, 1v1 with Max Aarons. Aarons just tried to shy him inside, he shows him inside, but then Jeremy Doku feints, comes on the outside, just tries to get his cross in with his left foot. In the end it was Senesi who come across and blocked that cross. Corner for Man City on their left hand side. Alvarez will take it, and it's whether he decides to go long or again comes to the edge of the 18-yard box.
Plays it short to Jeremy Doku down the left hand side of the area. Got Tavernier backpedaling into the area, puts the cross in, and Kovacic fired it over. The ball just came to him quickly. It was guided down to him by Akanji, and he just had to take a snapshot. Mateo Kovacic couldn't get his knee over the ball, over the bar for a Bournemouth goal kick. 57 gone, 3-0 Manchester City.
Yeah, again, the short corner routine. Alvarez to Doku. Doku just lifting it into the 18-yard box. Came to Akanji, just stretching, just with his left foot, lays it off to Kovacic. Kovacic's got to get himself over the top of the ball to volley it from 10 yards, go over Radu's bar.
Manchester City win it back almost as soon as Bournemouth had the goal kick. Ball's back with Rodri. Touches it in field to Kovacic, midway point of the Bournemouth half. Out to the right-hand side, and Bernardo Silva. Kyle Walker is in support, just rolls it back 20 yards or so for Akanji. Stevenage 1, Tranmere 2. Tranmere in front in the FA Cup. Rob Apter And Shrewsbury 2-1 up. Shot from Manchester City. Might break inside the 6-yard box for Alvarez, but out comes Radu. Good brave goalkeeping from the Romanian, and it stays at 3-0.
Yeah, came to Phil Foden just in the 18-yard box, gets it onto his left foot, and just as Alvarez just trying to follow in the rebound. In the end, it was Radu did really well, just come out and smothered the ball. So it's just gone a little bit flat in the Etihad, hasn't it, Dan? Because obviously the Man City fans know the game's done and dusted. It's difficult to get yourself sort of up for it. The Man City players being 3-0 up, and they know they've got a game midweek against young boys.
But there'll be players on the bench. Jack Grealish is one who'll be desperate to come on and put on a bit of a show.
Yeah,
and force their way into their managers' thinking for Tuesday night in the Champions League.
Yeah, Phil Foden's obviously come on in that sort of inside right position. He looked very lively.
Doku making strides down the left-hand side, but that's good covering from Max Aarons, and it actually came off Doku last of all. It's a goal kick. You're listening to Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0 on Talksport 2 with Now. Don't forget that with Now you can stream all the Sky Sports action, like Newcastle versus Arsenal, live today for £11.99 with no contract. Search Now Sports. Stevenage have levelled it up against Tranmere. They only just went behind other Lamex, but it's 2-2 now. Jamie Reid with a penalty. Stevenage's top scorer this season. Manchester City 3, Bournemouth 0 as we approach the hour mark at the Etihad Stadium. Yeah, it's young boys next, and then away to Chelsea for Manchester City before the next short international break, whilst Bournemouth will entertain their former manager Eddie Howe and Newcastle at the Vitality before the international break.
Just looking at how comfortable Man City are. Obviously Onana, the Manchester United goalkeeper, when playing with Inter Milan, he used to go and play basically level with his centre halves. That's what Edison's done 3 or 4 times in this second half, because obviously Bournemouth are sitting very deep and actually marking Akanji and John Stones.
Billing with a crossfield ball trying to pick out Kerkez. Can he keep it and play out on the far side? He can. He's 10 yards from the dead ball line. Milos Kerkez, he'll just roll it back to Senesi. Senesi gives it infield. Billing with a little back flick, finds Solanke at the edge of the area, hits the angle of post and bar with a left-footed effort. So close to getting Bournemouth back in the game. Edison at full stretch was nowhere near it, but it hit the angle of post and bar and came out.
Yes, Bournemouth's best passing movement of the game in this second half. You said there, Dan, it's just good link-up play with Solanke and Billing. Solanke just laying it off to Philip Bin with his left foot, just wrapped his foot around it. I thought he was going to nestle inside Edison's top right-hand corner, comes crashing back off the crossbar, and Bournemouth's just getting a little bit of possession in the final third.
Now Kerkez puts it into the Manchester City box. Tavernier with his back to play, trying to shield the ball, brings in Ryan Christie, who gets into the box but then runs into Walker, but his clearance only finds Kerkez. Cross to the far post, looking for Aarons, but flicked away by Nathan Ake, and away goes the fleet-footed Jeremy Doku, carrying the ball down towards the halfway line, just stops his run for a moment and gives it back to Ake. Better this from Bournemouth, and Pep Guardiola is not a happy bunny down beneath us.
Yeah, I think he realises that Man City have lost that little bit of intensity. You know, they're not as sharp as crisp in their passing, the movement's a little bit more static. But it's very difficult, obviously, when you've got a lot of games to go for the rest of the season, that subconsciously, Dan, you just probably drop off a little bit and you don't make that extra 5-6 yard sprint, or you don't go into the challenge because you don't get yourself injured.
AFC Wimbledon 3, Cheltenham Town 0 in the FA Cup. The 1988 winners look set for round 2. Plymouth Argyle 2, Middlesbrough 2. Josh Coburn with his second of the afternoon to get Middlesbrough back level. They were 1-0 up and 2-1 down in that game with Borough. And Exeter 0, Wigan Athletic 1 in the FA Cup. Thilo Asgard for Wigan, the 2013 winners.
You mentioned Middlesbrough there. I think you said, didn't you, Dance, in the first half they played Exeter away midweek.
That's right.
And they've got Plymouth away, so there was 1,400 at Exeter of Middlesbrough fans, and there's 1,600 gone today. That's incredible.
I spoke to a few of them, and a few were staying down in Devon for 2 days, but the club weren't. They were flying back on Tuesday night and then coming back down again Friday.
Do you think a few scones would have been taken down on the west coast?
Jam first or cream first? That's the question.
It's always jam first and then cream. Which way round is it, Cornwall and Devon?
I don't know. I'm not getting involved in that one.
It's definitely jam first. Heathen if you put cream on first and then jam. Heathen.
Phil Foden for Manchester City finds Jeremy Doku at the edge of the area. Rolls it into the box. Foden's there again! Number 4, the substitute getting in on the act. And once again, Jeremy Doku's involved. And Phil Foden points to his teammate as he runs to the corner flag, as if to appreciate just what this newcomer at Manchester City is doing for his teammates. He's scoring goals, he's setting them up, and Phil Foden gets in on the act as Man City substitute. Manchester City 4, Bournemouth 0.
Well, Jeremy Doku is having the game of his life. Dance has his 3rd assist as the ball just comes out from the right-hand side from Bernardo Silva over to his left-hand side to Jeremy Doku. He just cuts inside. Phil Foden makes a run into the 18-yard box. Jeremy Doku gets his head up and just rolls a perfect pass into Phil Foden. Has 2 touches from his right foot to his left foot, and then with his left foot gives Radu absolutely no chance. Just smashes it across him from 7 yards to put Man City 4-0 up against Bournemouth.
Well, Phil Foden, that's 3 Premier League goals for the season, but he was quick, very, very quick, to acknowledge that it wasn't about the goal, it was about the man who set him up. And Jeremy Doku is making a lot of headlines in these early stages as a Manchester City player. Meanwhile, at the county ground, it's now Swindon Town 0, Aldershot 7, brackets SEVEN in the FA Cup.
I don't know if it's me, Dance, but I think the Swindon players might not have a day off tomorrow.
I think they might be doing a bit of running. Elsewhere, Bristol City lead troubled Sheffield Wednesday by 1-0. Rob Dickey at Ashton Gate putting Bristol City ahead. Sheffield Wednesday did finally pay their tax bill, settled their dispute with HMRC in the week. Danny Raw, their new manager, having managed to get a couple of wins, or first win last time out, finds his team behind. Nigel Pearson, of course, now gone as Bristol City manager, and we wish him well with his health issues. I know he's planning on going back in for an operation fairly soon, so all the best to Nigel Pearson. Manchester City 4, Bournemouth 0.
Who's the one player that won't be particularly enamoured with Jeremy Doku's performance?
Jack Grealish.
Footballers work like that. I mean, he'll say, oh, he's pleased for him, but he'll be looking at him thinking, I've got to reach that standard.
Here's Rodri striding forward with purpose for Manchester City. Out to Bernardo Silva in the area. Bournemouth backpedaling. Bernardo Silva skips to the edge of the box, plays a square ball for Doku. Doku just plays it for Ake. Ake tried to send it across the face of goal, and Zabani turns it behind for yet another corner for Manchester City. 4-0 they lead.
Yeah, as Nathan Ake just released himself obviously from his centre-half duties, just making that underlap on this left-hand side. Jeremy Doku just with a reverse pass. Nathan Ake trying to get his cross in. Senesi comes across and blocks it. So there's another corner for Man City on this left-hand side. And there's a shot, they'll play it short.
Jeremy Doku rolls it back to Phil Foden, left-hand corner of the box, just dips his shoulder, tries to get across, and it's deflected up in the air, and that makes the catch easier for Radu. Plymouth 2, Middlesbrough 3. Middlesbrough back in front now, having got themselves back level through Josh Coburn's brace. Sam Greenwood gets the third for Borough. Wycombe are 2-1 up at Bradford. Now Bradford get a goal back through Jamie Walker, and Bristol Rovers 4, Whitby 2. What have you spotted, Perry Groves?
No, just mentioned Middlesbrough there. They're unbeaten last 7 league games at Plymouth. The last time they lost there was October 1964. They lost 1-0. So it's well worth those Middlesbrough fans staying down that little break on the West Country.
And putting jam on first, or cream on first, I don't know. Phil Foden for Manchester City, rolling it right for Kyle Walker. 4-0 Man City lead, and looking for more. And there's a triple change on the way for Manchester City, and a double change for Bournemouth to try and stem the tide. Bernardo Silva in possession. Phillips, Lewis and Nunez coming on shortly for Pep Guardiola's side.
See, there's a rule I think that should be implemented. I don't think managers should be allowed to make 3 substitutions at the same time, for the hassle that it causes us. We're actually writing them down and like crossing out the players.
Just be grateful Barry Fry still isn't in management, because he would change all 5 at once. You know he would. I think Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did that once at Manchester United. You and me might have been there at Old Trafford, where he made all 5 subs at once.
I bet the Swindon manager wished he could make 11, doesn't he, today?
7-0 to Aldershot. If you're just tuning in and wondering what we're talking about, Aldershot 7-0 up in the FA Cup at Swindon's county ground. Luis Sinisterra and Calvin Phillips exchange a bit of a handshake there. 2 former Leeds United players in direct opposition, because Sinisterra is about to come on for Bournemouth, as is Antoine Semenyo. 4-0 to Manchester City. We've played just over 3/4 of this game, 68 minutes gone. Leyton Orient are 2-1 up against Carlisle in the FA Cup. Aaron Drinan with a second for the O's at Brisbane Road. AFC Wimbledon 5, Cheltenham 0. Conor Lemonhay Evans for AFC Wimbledon as they go through the gears, and Bolton 3-0 up on Solihull in the FA Cup. Will Forrester. Here's Jeremy Doku, really enjoying himself out there, as well he might, having got involved in pretty much everything good that Manchester City have done this afternoon in a forward sense. Kyle Walker out on the far right hand side. He's joined by Bernardo Silva. Just nicks it back in field for John Stones. All the substitutes waiting patiently to be introduced, but Manchester City just calmly passing the ball around, just around the halfway line, and they're not being pressed by any Bournemouth players. As soon as I say that, Marcus Tavernier does make an effort to get to the ball. He now receives it as it's won back, but he's dispossessed and then fouled on halfway. This will give the chance for the changes to be made as Reading go 3-1 up on MK Dons in the FA Cup. Lewis Wing and Stockport lead by the same scoreline against Worksop. I think that's a hard hat-trick for Kyle Wootton this afternoon. So here come the changes for Manchester City. 3 changes in all. Matheus Nunes, Calvin Phillips and Nico Lewis. And John Stones is the first of those being withdrawn. Also, Julian Alvarez is going to be coming off. His number's just been held up by the 4th official, Anthony Backhouse. And Lewis is coming on and looking to see who the other player is it's going off. It's going to be Rodri, who's going to have a bit of a break. So Rodri, Stones and Alvarez off. Lewis, Nunez and Phillips on for Manchester City.
Yeah, just have a rest, Rodri. Because obviously Jeremy Doku has been the main player today, but don't estimate what Rodri does for Man City. Dance obviously just keeps them ticking over in that centre midfield. It's been quite an easy game for him today because he hasn't been put under that much pressure by the Bournemouth midfield.
Well, Semenyo's come on for Philip Billing, who's elected not to come to this near side, but he's just trudging around the outside of the pitch to our left-hand side. And Luis Sinisterra is coming on for Marcus Tavernier. So those are the changes that have been made by Andoni Iraola with the score at 4-0. Sheffield United lead in the Premier League against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Cameron Archer making it 1-0 to the Blades at Bramall Lane. And I'm told it's an absolute screamer of a goal from the former Villa man. Could be a big afternoon for Paul Heckingbottom. 1-0 up against Wolverhampton Wanderers. West Brom retake the lead at home to Hull City in the Championship. Matt Phillips makes it West Brom 2, Hull City 1. Crawley equalise at Notts County in the FA Cup. That's now 2-2 at Meadow Lane. Danilo Orsi with his second of the afternoon for Crawley. And Marine 1, Harrogate 4. Rod McDonald looks to have made it safe for Harrogate against Marine, who were playing Spurs in the FA Cup not so long ago, weren't they? With the ball going into somebody's back garden during the course of the game. Ian Danter and Perry Groves with you on Talksport 2. Talksport Breakfast back 6 o'clock on Monday. And it's Ali McCoist and Andy Townsend looking back on all the football. They'll be joined in the studio by England greats from different sports. We mentioned Glenn Hoddle joining the boys. Also Stuart Broad, former England fast bowler. Talksport Breakfast Monday when you wake up at 6 a.m. And if you prefer music to start your day, Chris Evans is on Virgin every weekday morning from 6:30 a.m. If you download the Talksport app, right, for your smartphone. Nowadays, not only do you get Talksport and Talksport 2 on the app, but you also get Virgin, you get Times Radio, and you get Talk TV, all in as part of the deal. It's free to download from your app store.
I often see Graham Norton just in one of the studios. Always give him a wave and a nod.
Does he know who you are?
He hasn't got a clue. He asked me for a cup of tea once.
Did he?
Yeah.
I'm sure you obliged.
Yeah,
because you're a generous soul.
Peppermint tea. It's good for the digestion.
Good advice, as well as great stats from Perry Groves. What more could you ask for in a co-commentator? Stockport 4, Worksop 1. Another for Kyle Wootton. I'm pretty sure he scored all 4 this afternoon for the Hatters.
Just looking at Man City, Dance, obviously they've gone still a back 4. Rico Lewis has gone over to the right back position. Kyle Walker come in right side, centre half.
As Max Aarons comes forward, looks in the area for Sinisterra, and he's got a goal back. The deficit reduced by 1 by Luis Sinisterra. As Manchester City just went to sleep for a moment, let Max Aarons get away down the right-hand side, and he slid the ball across the face of goal, and Sinisterra had time to take a touch before sliding it under Ederson for Manchester City 4, Bournemouth 1.
Pep Guardiola's gone absolutely apoplectic, Dan, because he's looking at Nathan Ake. He's not even aware that Max Aarons is on his left-hand shoulder, and he's gone mad as well because I think Jeremy Doku hasn't tracked back, for the fantastic game that Jeremy Doku has. Max Aarons just rolls the ball across the 18-yard box. To be fair to Sinisterra, it's a really good finish. He just takes one touch with his left foot, just flicks it with his right foot. Ederson comes out. He actually gives him the eyes dance, because as Ederson comes out and he spreads himself like Peter Schmeichel, the star shape, then he just whips it back across him with his right foot. Really good team goal from Bournemouth. But I said Pep Guardiola was going mad in his technical area because Nathan Ake just completely switched off.
Well, VAR are checking for a possible offside in the build-up. Now, I don't know whether it's for the ball that set Aarons away on the right or whether it's the cross from Aarons to find Sinisterra in the box. That's what they're checking in actual fact, that the second pass. So the pass to set Aarons away down the right is okay. It's all about the ball across the face of goal that found Sinisterra that's been looked at by VAR, which today is Simon Hooper back at Stockley Park.
Yeah, they're just looking to see if Sinisterra is behind or level with Max Aarons.
Or the ball.
And the ball, and it just on first looks, it looks like that he is.
I think he's okay. They've just run play through. Meanwhile, AFC Wimbledon 5, Cheltenham Town 1. Robert Street's got one back for Cheltenham. Goals given. It is 4-1, and there's a cheer from the Bournemouth fans away in that south stand on the right-hand side goal. They've come a long way, and you have to hand it to travelling support who come to these grounds where the bookies give them no chance at all. As you heard from Lee Phelps before the game from our betting partner William Hill, they had no chance, but they got themselves a goal. They've got something to cheer about, the Bournemouth fans. 4-1.
Yeah, because the Bournemouth fans will know that the players have given everything they possibly can, Dan. They've just been completely outclassed, basically, for a 10-minute period. Wasn't it in the first half, from the 30th to the 40th minute when Man City scored their 3 goals.
Rotherham 1, QPR 1. That basement battle in the Championship now all square. Rotherham level through Georgie Kelly at the New York Stadium. Now here comes Antoine Semenyo for Bournemouth. He's got Aarons on the overlap on his right-hand side. He's midway point of the Manchester City half. The fourth official is now getting an absolute volley from Pep Guardiola because of the time it took to allow Manuel Akanji to come back onto the field. He must know that there has to be 30 seconds after a player goes off. Meanwhile, Joe Rothwell is going through the middle, has to drift out to the left-hand side of the area, gives it back to Kerkez. Kerkez with a cross, deflects into the path of Kovacic, who can just half-volley it clear, but Bournemouth will get it back on halfway. Preston 3, Coventry 1 in the Championship. Milutin Osmajic with a third for Preston at Deepdale. Remember, Coventry were 1-0 up there.
The fourth official there, Anthony Backhouse, he's just saying to Pep Guardiola, what you haven't got me for? They're the rules. It always astonishes me when you see the managers having to go at the fourth official. Because the fourth official's like, well, I'm not refereeing, I haven't got the whistle, what you like shouting off at me for?
It's the most thankless job in football, you can argue, apart from being a steward. But being fourth official.
Well, at least if you're the fourth official actually looking at the game,
well,
the steward's actually facing away.
The countenance of Pep Guardiola at the moment is one of extreme frustration. It may well be that they're 4-1 up here, but Well, it's rare that you see Pep Guardiola looking happy on a touchline, in fairness.
Yeah, but he will be disappointed that the intensity levels of his team have dropped in the second half. But he'll understand, being an ex-player himself at the very highest level, managing at very highest level, it's very difficult to keep that intensity when you know the game is done and dusted, it's finished. That's obviously why he's put his substitutes on. Phil Foden coming at half-time, Rico Lewis coming on, Nunes coming on as well, Calvin Phillips, just to give a little bit of an injection of intensity. But the game, and everybody in the stadium knew the game was done and dusted at 3-0 at half-time.
12 minutes to go on Talksport 2. Don't forget, we've got full commentary of Bromley against Blackpool in the FA Cup straight after this game. Make sure you keep it on Talksport 2. If you want the phone in with Jamie O'Hara and Gabby Ankbonlahor, that's from 5:30 tonight on Talksport. Taking your calls, 03717 223344. I wonder if they'll hear from an Aldershot fan before we get to 7:30 this evening. Bristol Rovers 6, Whitby Town 2. Harvey Vale gets Bristol Rovers 6th. And West Bromwich Albion have extended their lead against Hull City at the Hawthorns. It's now 3-1 to West Brom. Semi Ajayi up from the back to get their third. And Plymouth have equalised against Middlesbrough. What a game at home park. 3-3 now. Morgan Whittaker gets the equaliser for the Pilgrims. Meantime, ball's given away by Matheus Nunes for Manchester City, and Semenyo's been played in, but Ake gets back brilliantly for Manchester City and puts it behind for Bournemouth's first corner of the game. And do I sense just a little bit of belief in that travelling Bournemouth contingent behind the goal? 4-1 City.
Yeah, it was just a good link-up play from Bournemouth on their right-hand side. You said there, Chris, you're just trying to release Semenyo, getting himself inside Nathan Ake. Nathan Ake did really well, just sliding in with his left foot to just put the ball out for corner for Bournemouth over on their left-hand side.
Hang on, Swindon 1, Aldershot 7, comebacks on. Meanwhile, corner kick for Bournemouth, swung in, right under the crossbar, headed across the face of goal, and nobody there in a red and black striped shirt to fire it home, because Manchester City looked to have lost their way as that corner came in. But they got away with it, Perry Groves.
Yeah, it was a really good header from Dominic Solanke on the far post. You said there, just nodded it down to the 86-yard box, and not one Bournemouth player read that knockdown. And I think Andoni Iraola, the Bournemouth manager, he'll be pleased with his side's application dance in the second half.
10 minutes to go. Bournemouth 4-1 down at Manchester City. So that's the score. Currently Manchester City 4, Bournemouth 1. For the latest odds at this point, you can head to William Hill, the official betting partner of Talksport 2's Premier League coverage, where right now you can get Phil Foden to score 2 or more goals at 6-1. That's all thanks to William Hill. Get epic value all season with William Hill. It's 18+. BeGambleAware.org. Newport County 2, Oldham Athletic 0 in the FA Cup. Shane McLaughlin with the second for the Exiles, and Doncaster in front against Accrington Stanley in an all-League 2 tie. Harrison Biggins makes it Doncaster 2, Accrington 1, and Shrewsbury 3-1 up on Colchester. Connor Hall gets a goal back for Colchester, and Stevenage back in front against Tranmere, 3-2 in that cup tie. At Lamex, Kane Hemmings and Macaulay Langstaff has put Notts County ahead, 3-2 against Crawley in the FA Cup. Here's Max Aarons for Bournemouth, just outside his own penalty area. Ball's played into the feet of Semenyo, who scored the opening goal against Burnley last week in our commentary game that Bournemouth won by 2-1. Having gone behind to Charlie Taylor's strike, Semenyo levelled it up with Bournemouth's first of the afternoon. Ball onto the chest of Senesi, who swings the ball very neatly out to the right-hand side. But it's won back by Manchester City, and Kyle Walker couldn't keep it in play. And it's a throw to Bournemouth. I'm not sure where the ball actually went out of play. It went out of play on halfway. Birmingham City 2, Ipswich 1. Ipswich back in it. Marcus Harness gets a goal back with 11 minutes to go at St Andrews. Oxford United 2-0 up on Maidenhead in the FA Cup. The second for Billy Bodin. Here's Semenyo for Bournemouth. Down the right-hand side, getting towards the right-hand corner of the penalty area, but between Ake and Doku, Manchester City win the ball back, and Doku looks early, plays a brilliant ball over halfway, setting Bernardo Silva away. Bernardo Silva in on goal, goes past his man, lobs it over the keeper, cleared off the line, but fired in in the end for number 5. I'm not sure whether the original shot from Bernardo Silva went over the line. It was cleared away by Ilya Zabani, but it came back and fired in for number 5. Bernardo and Foden and Nunez all congratulating one another. It is 5-1 eventually to Manchester City. Simply a question of whether that original effort from Bernardo Silva went over the line.
Dance, that goal epitomised what Man City were all about, because Jeremy Doku has been brilliant in this game. He's actually tracked back all the way to actually rob Semenyo, and he gets the ball, he gets it onto his right foot, he releases Bernardo Silva on the right hand side. Bernardo Silva goes on the outside of Lloyd Kelly. I actually think, as he just dinks it over Raju, Dance, I actually think that's gone over the line.
Yeah, I think so too.
Because we haven't had any official confirmation, but it was just fantastic play from Bernardo Silva, and then he's just dinked it over. He knows that it's gone over the line. I think that would be given to Bernardo Silva. Man City go 5-1 up against Bournemouth, and it's really, really good play again from Jeremy Doku. Is there anything that Jeremy Doku can't do?
Well, the ball looks definitely over the line from the still picture we've just seen during that replay. So, to my mind, Bernardo Silva has a second of the afternoon for Manchester City. It's 5-1. Solanke has gone off to be replaced by Justin Kluivert, and Oscar Bobb's going to get a run out. One of the youngsters from the Manchester City Academy, and that's Bernardo Silva's last contribution to score that second for him this afternoon, and Manchester City's 5th.
As said, Dance, obviously Man City were 4-1 up. Jeremy Doku's been brilliant, 3 assists, 1 goal, and then he still has the work rate and the effort to get himself back and take the ball off of Semenyo. Normally, let's be honest, if you're a forward and you've played that well, you've thought of in your rights not to track back, and you say, Nathan Ake, you get on with it on your own, but he doesn't. And that's the work ethic that Pep Guardiola demands from these Man City players.
5-1 to Manchester City. Bristol Rovers 7, Whitby Town 2. Aaron Collins gets in on the out. Doncaster Rovers 2, Accrington Stanley 2. Seamus Keneally equalises for Stanley. Swindon 2, Aldershot 7. Daniel Kemp with a swift second for Swindon.
Actually, Dan, that's, if that is over the line from Bernardo Silva, then that's Doku's 4th assist.
Yeah. Great pass as well to set him away. Semenyo in the centre circle for Bournemouth. Finds Senesi out to the far left-hand side. And we talked about the damage limitation for AFC Bournemouth at half-time. And they kept things fairly quiet for long spells of this second half. And they did get a goal back. But ultimately, Manchester City have found their gears again. And now it's 5-1 as we have 4 minutes left to play here at the Etihad on Talksport 2.
Yeah, they're just a bit of a lull in the proceedings, weren't they, from Man City? Their passing became a little bit slower. Obviously, they knew the game was done and dusted at 3-0. Then they go to 4-0. And then Bournemouth is to get himself back. Bournemouth had a good little spell, Dan, didn't they, in that second half, about 10-15 minutes, where Man City just dropped off. Sinestra obviously got the goal back for Bournemouth, and if you're looking for positives at that stage, you'd think, and Daniel would say, well, we've drawn the second half 1-1. But obviously now Bernardo Silva goes and gets his second goal.
Bob gets away down the right-hand side for Manchester City, goes to ground under pressure from Senesi. What's been given there, a corner kick to Manchester City. Everton 1, Brighton 1. An own goal from Ashley Young brings Brighton level at Goodison Park. So elsewhere in the Premier League, Manchester United won earlier by a goal to nil. Brentford 3-2 up on West Ham. Palace still 1-0 up at Burnley. It's 1-1 Everton Brighton. Sheffield United still leading Wolves by that 1 goal to nil. And here at the Etihad on Talksport 2, 5-1 to Manchester City, and they have a corner at the family end to our left-hand side, and it's played short for Lewis. Works it back to Phil Foden. Foden into the centre of the Bournemouth half for Kyle Walker. Gives it back to Foden. Foden quickly shifts it out to Matheus Nunez on the right wing. And now Lewis drives it across the face to goal. And Ake with a diving header makes it 6. from the shirt of the number 6 for Manchester City. They're going top of the Premier League in style. Fantastic header right in front of goal. And Manchester City have hit Bournemouth for 6 of the best at the Etihad in the closing stages. Nathan Ake makes it Manchester City 6, Bournemouth 1.
Yeah, it's a really good header from Nathan Ake, diving in from 6 yards out. Just good play from Man City over on their right-hand side. Oscar Bob just whipping the ball across the 6-yard box. Just right decision at the right time. Bournemouth have just gone to sleep, not tracking their runners. Ryan Christie trying to get himself back. Oscar Bob doing exactly the right thing, Dance, just whipping it across that 6-yard, as I said, and Nathan Ake get in front of his marker, giving Radio absolutely no chance whatsoever to put Man City 6-1 up against Bournemouth.
The former Bournemouth man showing no mercy to his former employers. 6-1 as we head towards added time. Sheffield United 1, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1. Jean-Luc Nabeagard equalises for Wolves at Bramall Lane. Preston 3, Coventry 2. Coventry not out of it yet at Deepdale. Had you right with his second of the afternoon. Ball's back with Ederson.
Wolves equalised.
Yes.
That's the third tight game on the trot where they've gone a goal behind and they've come back, it looks like, to get points. That'd be 5 points they'd have gained from those 3 games.
Impressive stuff from Gary O'Neill's Wolverhampton Wanderers, but oh so close for Sheffield United. There's still time left. They're going into added time there. We're about to go into added time here at the Etihad. Manchester City 6-1 up on Bournemouth. Cambridge 2, Bracknell 1. Cambridge may well have made it through, but Bracknell have a goal back. The Southern Premier League side through Ben Harris. Wigan are through to round 2. Stephen Sessegnon's got a late second at Exeter. Exeter 0, Wigan 2. Marine 1, Harrogate 5, and we're moving into 7 minutes of minimum stoppage time. We'll get you team news shortly from Bromley against Blackpool in the FA Cup, which is our late kick-off here on Talksport 2, so stay with us for that, for first round FA Cup action from South East London or North West Kent, depending on your point of view. Here's Mateo Kovacic riding the challenge of Rothwell, going through the centre circle. Bob is immediately ahead of him, so too is Foden, tried to slide him in. Good challenge, won it back from Kirkes for Bournemouth, and out it goes to the left hand side, and it's kept in play by Justin Kluivert, but then he runs into sky blue traffic and can't hold on to the ball. Scarborough 1, Forest Green Rovers 1. The League 2 side spare their blushes. They were on their way out to the National League North side, but Ollie Sully has got a late equaliser. And the applause is going round for the player of the match, who unsurprisingly is Jeremy Doku, who'll be going into all the sponsors' lounges in a little while, I'm sure.
1 goal and 4 assists.
It's not too bad, is it?
I think Jack Grealish just gave a little ripple of applause as well for Jeremy Doku. Just appreciates really good wing play.
Foul on halfway on a Man City player, but referee wastes play on. Calvin Phillips in the centre of the half, feeds it out to Doku on this left-hand side, up against Aarons, who's had a torrid afternoon against the Belgian. Doku into the area, plays a 1-2 with Bob. Now gets to the byline, tries to step inside his man, has to roll it back to Foden, then Kovacic. Kovacic across to Lewis. Lewis now, right-hand corner of the box, feeds it out to the far right-hand side of Matheus Nunes. Into the box, Lewis goes down, Bob looks for Foden with his back to goal, but he can't turn and get the shot on target. It's cleared away, and out to play for a throw as Southampton take a late lead at Millwall in the Championship. Millwall 0, Southampton 1. Ryan Fraser. Tranmere equalising the FA Cup at Stevenage, 3-3 at the Lamex now. Kieran Morris getting that late goal for Stevenage, and Ipswich equalise at Birmingham, 2-2. Marcus Harness with his second of the afternoon. Not to be for Wayne Rooney, it would appear.
First point though. Little Acorns, Dance, little Acorns.
Progress. Still time for Ipswich to win it. Ball's back with Radu. Clears it right-footed up to half-weight. Poor touch from Akanji, and it allows Ryan Christie to bring the ball clear. Plays it back into his own half, onto the chest of Kelly. Kelly dispossessed by Foden, but the whistle had gone. And it's a free kick to Bournemouth on halfway. So yeah, coming up next on Talksport 2, live coverage of the FA Cup tie between Bromley and Blackpool. We don't have the team news just yet from our commentator Joe Shannon, but you'll get that with Faye in due course before the game gets underway inside the next hour. 6-1 to Manchester City, and they're coming forward again. Jeremy Doku looks to backheel it to get away from Aarons and then tricks himself and just kicks it out of play over the dead ball line for a goal kick. Burnley 0, Crystal Palace 2. Palace have sealed the points, and that's another home defeat for Burnley. We were talking about that with Faker others before the game, weren't we, Perry, about that record, unwanted record of successive home defeats at the start of a season for Burnley.
Yeah, it'll be the 6 on the trot. Could have become the first team in top flight history to lose their first 6 at home of a season in top flight.
Here's Kovacic as Manchester City seek a 7th. Gets up to the edge of the area but can't roll the challenge of Sinistera. And Lloyd Kelly will find Aarons. That's a good ball slid down the right hand side, and Christie still full of running. Picks up the ball on halfway, everything to his left. He's got the attentions of Bob and of Ake out on this near side, but he does well to find Sinistera, who got Bournemouth's consolation goal. Along the halfway line it goes, and Rothwell finding Senesi out to the far left hand side, and Kluivert. Kirkes has gone again, gets to the byline, pulls it back neatly. Looked almost to have found Kluivert inside the box, but it was tidied up by Manchester City. We played 4 minutes of the minimum 7 that have been added on. Reading 3, MK Dons 2 now. MK Dons back in it at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. And the ball's with Edison. So let's get the team news for Bromley Blackpool. Joe Shenner's got the details.
The Bromley, 3rd in the National League, make 3 changes to the side that won at Woking last Saturday. 6 changes for Blackpool, the FA Cup winners in 1953. 43 league places between the two sides ahead of this FA Cup first round commentary on Talksport 2 at Hayes Lane. It's Bromley against Blackpool.
And that kicks off at 5:45 here on Talksport 2, so stay with this frequency and you won't miss a kick of that game between Bromley and Blackpool. 5 minutes gone of injury time. 6-1 to Manchester City against a Bournemouth side. I don't think we could describe them as hapless this afternoon. They haven't been dreadful, Bournemouth. It's just that Manchester City have gone through the gears, and they have a man in Jeremy Doku in the most scintillating form, Perry
Well,
Groves.
he's had the game of his life, because I can't imagine there's been another game where he's had 4 assists and actually scored, and all 4 of his assists have been completely different, Dan. So, haven't they? We saw, obviously, the last one for Bernardo Silva's goal, where he drops deep into the left-back position.
Now it's lifted into the box by Calvin Phillips looking for Nunez, but Bournemouth have got control of that and got it back with Zabarnyi inside his own penalty area.
Yeah, it's not been a lack of application from Bournemouth for any shape or form, because they've tried to stay organised. Every single outfield player has put in the effort, but it's just a total golfing class dance. And we said that all the Bournemouth players had to be sort of an 8 or 9 out of 10. They've probably been 6 and 7s, where Man City, there was no complacency whatsoever. Like, the passing in the first half was excellent. They move you around, they completely discombobulate you in your brain, you know. We said about physically it's difficult to play against them, but psychologically and mentally as well, because they keep passing it, they pass it very quickly. Then when they get into the final third, the decision making is excellent and the pass is clinical.
Balls into the area, Kovacic onside, can he make it 7? Hits it straight at the goalkeeper. And the offside flag did not go up on that far side as Kovacic was played in. And the referee blows the whistle for full time. And Manchester City hit Bournemouth for 6 and go back top of the Premier League for a few hours at least. And it was the Jeremy Doku show this afternoon at the Etihad. The youngster not long arrived at this club in scintillating form this afternoon, scoring 1, assisting 4. Bernardo Silva also had a terrific afternoon, scoring twice and looking menacing. Akanji Foden and former Bournemouth player Ake, the other goal scorers. Sinisterra got a consolation back for the Cherries with about a quarter of an hour to go. But it was all about Belgian Jeremy Doku, and another brilliant performance from him. What a quick adjustment he's made to life in the Premier League. Absolutely tailor-made for Pep Guardiola's system. And Manchester City go back to the top of the top flight with this victory. Manchester City 6, Bournemouth 1.